dry your smoke-stung eyes. So you can see the light. You're staring at the sky, watching stars collide, watching stars. If you leave,
this is for everyone whose stories don't fit into a nicely packaged narrative. Trees have branches, so do stories.
This is for not being ashamed of how loud you laugh when something's embarrassing.
This is for the conversations at Morgan's Tea, the ones which remind us of our humanity.
This is for the broken, tired, and helpless.
This is for the people who call it the bullshit. Thank you for keeping us honest.
For everyone who feels like they're on the perimeter, desperately looking to be included.
For the ones with too many feelings. For the ones who dare disturb the universe.
For the misunderstandings and the beautiful confusion of life.
This is for anyone who knows what it feels like to be violated, and for anyone who has seen someone they love experience that feeling.
This is for that professor, the one that takes on so much more than lectures and papers each time she teaches.
This is for everyone who finds inspiration in the ugly things.
For everyone who thought they were doing something great for other people, and then realized they needed to check themselves. Intention doesn't negate harm done in ignorance.
This is for the ones who still haven't found a place where they fit.
This is for the boy whose dad isn't there.
This is for anyone who has ever loved hard. Do not apologize for your superpower.
For anyone who is gay, lesbian, bi, trans, or doesn't fucking need a label, you are so loved.
This is for the person afraid to seek justice. It belongs to you.
This is for the ones still working through their demons and figuring out the exact meaning of self-care.
This is for that girl who apologized for speaking up in class. Speak up now.
This is for the ones who live on a roller coaster, reaching the highest of highs and the lowest of lows.
For the ones who have forgiven but not forgotten.
For the ones whose time it was to depart, even with no certain place to go. You have a home here always, and the people who love you unconditionally.
This is for the voices who have to scream to be heard.
For each and every one of us who calls the domain home.
For the people out there who think this event is bullshit, but we're gonna listen to the stories anyway.
This is for the bleeding hearts.
This is for the ones who are taught to hate themselves.
This is for you and me and the spaces in between.
For the people still searching for their voice.
This is for all the strong women. Let your bravery know no bounds.
This is for each of us who have let our words be heard even though our voices shook when we spoke.
This is for taking back your voice.
This is
Sewanee Monologues.
Dearest beloved girl. Dearest beloved girl, this letter is an apology for being an adult who has failed to make the world safe for you, because you should be safe. Even when you make the sometimes stupid, often naive choices that teens make, you should be safe. Your vulnerability should not invite assault and attack of your body or your spirit, and I am so sorry because we have failed to teach your male peers that they have no right to touch you without your consent, or to use you to meet their needs, or to discard you if your victimization does not fit their life plan. I am so sorry we have failed you. This letter is also a note of gratitude for your willingness to report the crime, to take a stand and to endure the viciousness hurled at you this week. I know the words that run the loop in your mind. Don't tell. If you tell, no one will believe you. If you tell, everyone will think you're a whore. Sometimes he is the only one who says them first, spewing the words like mold spores that grow in the darkness of your silence. Sometimes it's your own voice telling you, I can't tell. No one will believe me. It's the reason 54% of survivors never report the assault. It's the reason I kept my secret for nearly a decade, but not you, beloved. You demanded the right to be heard. You may have lost your voice that night, but you found it again when you told the truth, even though you knew, didn't you? You knew just how relentlessly they would try to silence you. You knew that neighbors and friends and even members of the national media would mourn the loss of your attacker's football career more than the loss of your innocence. You knew that even those who claimed to be sympathetic would pass along the pictures of your assault with a tone of deaf voyeurism that seeks to make you a thing instead of a person. I think maybe you knew or suspected these things, but you spoke out anyway. And that is astonishing. And I want to say thank you. Because you did what so many of us never found the strength to do. You spoke for yourself. You spoke for the 44% of rape victims who are under 18, and you spoke for my 14-year-old self, who still hears that threat echoing in my head, "Don't tell, no one will believe me." This is my apology, and this is my gratitude. This is me saying, I believe you. And I believe you are inherently valuable. Not as a character in some grotesque news cycle where your assault is all we know, but as a girl with hopes and dreams and ambitions and vulnerabilities and so much more growing up to do. I never need to know your name, but I need you to know you are not alone. Surviving is not a single occurrence. It is a lifetime of making choices that honor you and your right to speak. You have begun surviving. You will continue surviving. And if you ever get down or wonder how you will go on, take this letter and read it for yourself. I believe you. Sincerely, Melissa Harris Perry.
Tinkle targets. It was always my understanding that young boys learn how to aim at the same time that they are potty trained. To teach boys how to aim, Parenting Magazine advises tinkle targets, which are objects that float in toilet water and whose name describes their primary purpose. Also, there's the classic and cheaper method, pouring Cheerios or Fruit Loops into the toilet to allow young boys the opportunity to achieve a whole grain bullseye. Now, this lesson regarding target practice applies to college gentlemen as well, for it would be my assumption that they have been aiming long enough that they should be able to maintain focus under any and all circumstances. Like watching Netflix, for example, or when they're blackout behind a party in the woods, or yes, when they're having an orgasm. Because let's face it, pee is not the only thing that comes out of that organ, and semen really burns when it gets in your eye. Before rewinding and telling this story from the start, I preface it with the fact that you all here will be able to make of it what you wish. Writing this story and sharing a laugh has helped me turn an excruciating experience into one where I could learn something. So thank you for letting me share. If the other person who experienced this moment with me happens to be in the audience, please remember that I handed in this monologue completely anonymously, and so you should send me a little quick text right after the show letting me know that you don't hate me. Or at least that you thought some of my puns were funny. If there's anyone else in this audience who has been on the giving or receiving end of this excruciating experience, as I'm sure there is, then remember that you are not alone. And lastly, to everyone here, I just ask three things as you hear this eye-opening, or rather eye-closing experience. That you laugh with me, cringe with me, and feel empowered with me. Here we go. The night began with too much alcohol, too much excitement, not enough sleep, and not enough sense. A mixture that I'm sure many Sewanee students know all too well. Standing in front of the bonfire at SNU, I naturally remained aware of where one of the cutest boys I knew was at all times. The pre-contaminated eye contact that we had that night was real. It was hopeful and it was shared. And it was followed by some cigs, good conversation, and wall grinding at late night gamma. Classic. We left together, learned each other's middle names, and walked to lie down by the private and comfortable stretch of grass by the one and only Lake Trez. Please believe me when I say that this guy really was a gentleman. There were no accidental butt touches, just simple hand-holding and great conversation with a boy I thought was cute for more than a year. There are no forward advances, spooning and sleeping, and it was exactly what the virgin and the romantic in me had wanted. I think it was the fact that everything was too good to be true that prompted my advances when we kissed in his bed the next morning. From there, things progressed naturally, and as I think you can imagine, this is where the matter of aim factors in. I honestly have tried to block it out of my memory. I just remember that it hit me quite unexpectedly, and it was so much thinner and warmer than I recalled. It had been a while, and only once before. I think I just liked him so much, and I wanted for him to want to hook up with me again that I went in too deep. I went so deep, in fact, that I had to pull my head back and began to cough. Partly real coughing, but honestly, mainly fake coughing to avoid having to put my mouth on it again. As I abruptly pulled my head back, there it went. Right into my eye and all over my face. As you might imagine, every time I saw the boy following this moment, the memory flooded back just as quickly, unexpectedly, and violently as the semen flooded into my eye. And yet, while waiting for the omelet line lasts longer than this wretched experience did, this event was still a two-way street. It was neither his fault nor mine. I do not blame this boy. I do not blame this boy. This boy, I do not blame. Even though he probably didn't spend his childhood peeing on Cheerios to practice his aim, and even though coming on my forehead or shoulder probably would have been a better idea than my eye, I was still the one that put his dick in my mouth. I was the one who chose to make such an uncharacteristic forward advance simply out of the desire to be remembered. I used my own assumptions about boys' expectations to act in a way incongruent with my own values. After all, I didn't have time to adequately wash my face before church on that Sunday morning. Don't worry, I skipped for the first time in years. Next day, I also had to tell my boss that my allergies had just gotten so bad on account of my red and swollen eye. So, ladies and gentlemen alike, come one and come all to hear what I have learned moving on from this experience. My core reaction to this event was not due to some innate embarrassment, but instead it was my choice to allow my embarrassment to let me feel demeaned. To an extent, I have found that no matter how debilitating or humiliating the experience, you can sort through your emotions to choose your response as long as you first embrace those initial feelings. And once you chose those reactions to moments of trial or strife or sexual mishaps, you have to figure out how to respond in a way that is productive. For example, avoiding passing hellos was not a productive response. It did not help me to learn from the humiliating moment. And clearly, but also maybe cloudily and white, blaming this boy would not have been a useful, expensive energy because it did nothing to change the embarrassing moment in our past. I hope you don't think that I turned a simple story into a lesson that is far too deep to get from a drunken mistake, or that I made too big of a deal of something that happens much more often than meets the eye. But to all the guys and gals in the audience, here is my final advice. Do not act based on general assumptions. Hold to your values and hold them close to your heart, or at least in front of your eyes. Use your emotions in the most productive way you can. Wear your glasses the next time you get head. And most importantly, respond to humiliating things with conviction. Move forward from them with strength. And to the other person who experienced this moment with me, I know you were embarrassed too. And I'm glad that the next semester when we finally kissed again, all we did was kiss. That's more who I am anyway. Most of all, my heart still jumps nearly every time I see you. I think you're really cute, and I would love to lie in the grass and look at the stars again sometime soon.
Dancing alone. I have always loved to dance. I remember being a little girl and dancing around between the legs of tables at my uncle's and aunt's house during their holiday meals. My dad would put me on his feet and I'd dance around with him, spinning and laughing the whole time. I remember dancing so hard in the car one time that it literally stopped traffic. Like, people stopped their cars because I was so into music. To this day, I still can't sit still. Seriously, sit by me in class sometime. You'll notice how I resituate and move every couple of minutes because I swear there's a pulse or a beat or something that just vibrates through my body. So it's no surprise that I was so fucking stoked to come to college. The only people dancing at high school parties were, well, no one danced at high school parties, at least not where I'm from. My first weekend of college, I remember walking into a fraternity and feeling so excited. I totally danced the night away with my friends. I became one with the music. I lost myself in that moment. It was so great. I was so present. I was so alive. Even better, I wasn't in my room alone doing it. There was a room full of people enjoying this same moment, and we were all so alive. This was short-lived. Don't get me wrong, I still live for these moments. The moments when I can completely check out and pull a total Bob Marley. You know, the one good thing about the music is that when it hits you, you feel no pain sort of thing. But in my second night, this really sly guy snuck up behind me. We've all had it happen. Some guy slowly gets closer and closer until you have no room in between the two of you, and you can feel his limp dick rubbing on some part of your body. Or, you know, the reverse, some guy's dancing, and before he knows it, he has a full-fledged grind session happening on his leg. And, you know, I've always wondered, why don't we ask? If I don't get to consent on the dance floor, how do you expect me to consent in the bedroom? So, on this second night of college, I did what a lot of people do. I just went with it. I didn't even know what he looked like. I was too scared to look at his face for fear that, God forbid, our lips might touch. How messed up is that? Like, he can rub his dick on my ass, but please don't kiss me? So, instead of moving away from something I didn't want, I said nothing. I just went along with it. Even better, when he slowly slid his hands down the front of my pants, I said nothing. Dance floor fingering. Why did that ever become a thing? I mean, if you're both into it, cool, yeah, sure, go with it, rock on, but if you don't even know me, what the fuck? I left shortly after that. I ran back to find refuge in courts, and I didn't tell a soul. I took a shower, I put it behind me, but I woke up disgusted. Not much later, I found out who that guy was. I've hated every interaction with him since. So from that point on, I pulled a lot of I gotta pee to run away from those situations. Instead of saying, no, I don't want to dance with you, I instead make up an excuse for fear of hurting someone's feelings. I don't want to reject someone for fear of hurting their feelings because society has taught me that just going with it is easier than a confrontation. But why doesn't anyone ever consider that one of my passions and loves of my life is being stripped from me? It's small, I know, but it matters. It really matters to me. Everyone on this campus knew I had a boyfriend for a very long time. Once I was at this party with him when some guy just wouldn't leave me alone. This guy found it appropriate to hold onto my arm when he tried to have a conversation with me. He ignored me when I politely asked him to stop. He found it appropriate to follow me around Snoo for the rest of the night. Even when I was cuddled up on the couch with my beau, he slowly crept over to that space between us next to me on the couch. And so I then made out with my boyfriend, total full-on PDA, just to get him to back off. Then, and only then, did he finally leave me alone. It's like this really weird version of hide and seek that I don't even realize I'm playing. I left the dance floor when my favorite song was playing when an unwanted advance was made. I then learned to keep my eyes peeled at all times so I could start dancing very intensely with a nearby friend to avoid the situation. I left hanging out with my friends so many times because I was so tired of being on guard that night. I tried to explain to my boyfriend why I would go back to my room early, even though it was a fun night, but no one seemed to understand how dirty these interactions made me feel. I felt like I was the bad guy. I was the one with the problem. No one ever seemed to understand that that beautiful moment of losing myself in the music and the rhythm was just totally stripped from me. Or maybe the worst thing is that I never felt comfortable raising my voice. We live in a culture that silenced me. I'm sure you're probably thinking this just sounds shallow, oh boo-hoo, I can't dance at a party without receiving unwanted advances. I'm just too into myself, I have too big of a head. Or you're probably thinking that this just doesn't really happen that much. But I know many of you are connecting to this. This is for you. As I got older, I got better at saying no. Well, I got better at keeping the unwanted advances from happening. Mainly, I would stay at a party until I was sick and tired of constantly being on guard, or I just wouldn't go out at all because I didn't want to put up with it. I then found refuge in my boyfriend's fraternity, which meant limiting myself to dancing only in that space because everyone there knew I was with him. Everyone there respected me on a deeper level, right? Or at the very least, they respected their fraternity brother. So it's no surprise that I lost it when that last safety net was stripped from me. The funny thing is that I wasn't even dancing when this advance was made. I had been dancing. I had totally lost myself in the beauty of Beyonce's Partition, and I felt so alive and so happy. You know, I felt like that carefree kid again. As I stood along a wall, talking to a friend, I felt the hand of someone slowly move from my mid-thigh up to my back, with a big old nice squeeze on my ass. I was going to hit you. I turned and I saw your fucked up smirk, and you have no idea how much I wanted to hurt you. I woke up, for fuck's sake, I dated the president of his fraternity. This was my safety net. This was the only place on campus where I could feel that alive feeling I felt when I was a little girl, and you stole it from me. I wanted to cry, and I did. I went to the bathroom, and I just let the tears roll down my face. I went to bed that night feeling so gross. I woke up even more disgusted. I literally felt dirty. I laid in bed the whole next day. If I felt this way about being groped, imagine how sexual assault would make you feel. I didn't want to make a big deal about something that happens all the time, but as I sit here writing this, I feel so violated on so many levels. This was the straw that broke the camel's back. This was the moment that made every unwanted objectification rise to the surface, and I was totally overwhelmed with that recognition. So yes, I reported that incident for everyone who hasn't reported something similar. It's been interesting listening to conversations about how upset people were that a timely warning email about sexual assault was about groping. Even better is that people questioned why I should be called a survivor in an email. Would it have made your life easier if I had been penetrated? No, I'm not a survivor of sexual assault in your class definition of rape, but I am a survivor of everyday sexist bullshit, and I am going to report this until the internet breaks if that's what it takes. 3.5 years of silence, and I am not sorry you got one little email. I hope you see how messed up these gendered stereotypes are and all of these stupid experiences. I shouldn't feel limited to certain spaces. I should not feel imprisoned by how I move my body. My voice should be heard when I say, please don't hold my arm, because if you won't listen to my no here, you definitely aren't listening to any of the other no's. Instead, running to another man's, quote, protection was easier than fighting off advances. Not anymore. This stands for so much more than my love of dancing. This is for anyone who has ever just taken it. I am sick, I am tired, I'm not taking it anymore, and neither should you.
Josh Alcorn. Please don't be sad. It's for the better. The life I would have lived isn't worth living, because I'm transgender. I could go into detail explaining why I feel that way, but this note is probably going to be lengthy enough. To put it simply, I feel like a girl trapped in a boy's body, and I've felt that way ever since I was 4. I never knew there was a word for that feeling, nor was it possible for a boy to become a girl, so I never told anyone, and I just continued to do traditionally boyish things. When I was 14, I learned what transgender meant, and I cried of happiness. After 10 years of confusion, I finally understood who I was. I immediately told my mom, and she reacted extremely negatively, telling me that it was a phase, that I would never truly be a girl, that God doesn't make mistakes, that I'm wrong. If you're reading this, parents, please don't tell this to your kids. Even if you are Christian or if you're against transgender people, don't ever say that to someone, especially your children. That won't do anything but make them hate themselves. That's exactly what it did to me. My mom started taking me to the therapist, but she would only take me to Christian therapists, who were all very biased, so I never actually got the therapy that I needed to cure my depression. I only got more Christians telling me that I was selfish, and that I was wrong, and that I should look to God for help. When I was 16, I realized that my parents would never come around, and that I would have to wait until I was 18 to start any sort of transitioning treatment, which absolutely broke my heart. The longer you wait, the harder it is to transition. I felt hopeless, that I was just going to look like a man in drag for the rest of my life. On my 16th birthday, when I didn't receive consent from my parents to start transitioning, I cried myself to sleep. I formed a sort of fuck you attitude towards my parents and came out as gay at school, thinking that maybe if I eased into coming out as trans, it would be less of a shock. Although the reaction from my friends was positive, my parents were pissed. They felt like I was attacking their image and that I was an embarrassment to everything that they stood for. They wanted me to be their perfect little straight Christian boy, and that's obviously not what I wanted. So they took me out of public school, took away my laptop and my phone, and forbid me of getting on any sort of social media, completely isolating me from my friends. This was probably the part of my life when I was the most depressed, and I'm surprised I didn't kill myself. I was completely alone for 5 months. No friends, no support, no love. Just my parents, disappointment, and the cruelty of loneliness. At the end of the school year, my parents finally came around and gave me back my phone and let me back on social media, but only at first. Eventually, they realized my friends didn't actually give a shit about me, and I felt even lonelier. The only friends I thought I had only liked me because they saw me 5 times a week. After a summer of having almost no friends, plus the weight of having to think about college, save money for moving out, keep my grades up, go to church each week, and feel like shit because everyone there is against everything I live for, I've decided I've had enough. I'm never going to transition successfully, even when I move out. I'm never going to be happy with the way I look or sound. I'm never going to have enough friends to satisfy me. I'm never going to have enough love to satisfy me. I'm never going to find a man who loves me. I'm never going to be happy. Either I live the rest of my life as a lonely man who wishes he were a woman, or I live my life as a lonelier woman who hates herself. There's no winning and there's no way out. I'm sad enough already. I don't need my life to get any worse. People say it gets better, but that isn't true in my case. It gets worse. Each day I get worse. That's the gist of it. That's why I feel like killing myself. Sorry if that's not a good enough reason for you. It's good enough for me. As for my will, I want 100% of the things that I legally own to be sold, and the money, plus my money in the bank, to be given to trans civil rights movements and support groups. I don't give a shit which one. The only way I will rest in peace is if one day transgender people aren't treated the way I was. They're treated like humans, with valid feelings and human rights. Gender needs to be taught about in schools. The earlier the better. My death needs to mean something. My death needs to be counted in the number of transgender people who commit suicide this year. I want someone to look at that number and say, that's fucked up, and fix it. Fix society, please. Goodbye. Leela Josh Alcorn.
Ten things about Sewanee. The academics. A world of knowledge I will never know because I lost the ability to learn, grow, expand, and understand. Nature. All the hikes I never got to go on because you told me I couldn't free my mind to find the nurture within nature. Old traditions. I climbed up the out ladder to watch the stars naively so I could fuck someone to substitute intimacy with proximity. To love with drunken ambivalence. The cross, the most beautiful outlook on our domain, where I would drive and scream all that I could to somehow silence you, to force my aggression and anxiety into a pathetic release of emotions that left me emptier than when I started. The sunrise at Greensview. The only times I made it to sunrise at Greensview were when I hadn't slept in over 40 hours and there was nowhere else to go. Greek life, the biggest family of sisters that I never really got to know. The best friends that I hardly even had. McClurg, walking past every line, just looking, because I couldn't choose what to throw up next. Advisors, brilliant people, there for guidance and support that I avoided at all costs. No, I'm just at the lowest point of my existence, and there's nothing either of us can do anymore, but thanks for signing my major declaration form. We both know I won't succeed, yet here we are, sitting. You trying to pretend you can understand, and me trying to get you to think you're helping, so that I can finally leave. Maybe disappear. The gates, symbolizing where I am safe and where my protection stops. My angels are just as tired and weak as I am. It takes a toll watching a train wreck unfold in front of you, realizing your foot is right there on the brakes, but you don't have the desire to put out the effort to make the crash stop. And then it implodes, but you're still there, worn and bruised. The motto YSR. Yeah, Sewanee's right, as the most perfectly right place there ever was for every girl, with a vulnerability that disappears with cigs outside the library, joints pointed out the window, and a bottle of alcohol waiting to release her from the pain and agony of having to think. For being the most perfectly right place to hate yourself on the bathroom stall floor. But keep fighting those heathens, and stay faithfully devoted to a belief and worship of a superhuman, controlling power.
The Truman Show.
Colin, have you ever realized that Sewanee really looks like a lot like the Truman Show?
Sewanee is an isolated and hidden gem. It's a town where everyone seems to be happy all the time. If you're feeling awful, why would you tell anyone? The answers to all questions must be sweet, cool, awesome, tight, bro. The cool thing is to pretend to have a perfect life.
Sewanee is a place where everybody is so immersed in their routines that nothing really seems to happen. Do these smiling people ever have actual problems? The biggest problem some students seem to face is running out of cigarettes on a Saturday night, having tons of homework, or dealing with rejection to a formal. Hashtag Sewanee Pops, hashtag, if you don't believe me, ask Yik Yak.
Sewanee is a place where similarity and sameness are welcome, and where uniqueness is avoided at all costs. Why be unique? It's a lot of work. People seem to have an unspoken agreement to wear the same clothes, have the same hobbies, and behave in the same way. It seems that to get... It seems that to get to Sewanee, it's a requirement to leave behind your own personality in order to embrace the one of this town. This is the Truman Show. Don't aim to be different.
First and foremost, clothes must be addressed. Believe it or not, outside of the show, people wear things other than bean boots, North Face fleece jackets, khaki pants, bean boots, did I say that already? Boat shoes. I seem to have, okay, you can look nice and wear class dress without wearing what everybody else does.
Secondly, can we talk about social life? Why do people need to get blackout wasted several nights a week? Even when they're unhappy about it because they don't remember who they fucked last night or the mean thing they said to their best friend. Sadly, the Truman Show seems to reinforce and value this lifestyle. The more fucked up, the cooler you seem. The more people you hook up with, not remembering their names, the more badass and respected you are.
But did you know the truth, Colin? Did you know that most of the people that follow these social rules, and I include myself, hate having to get wasted to have fun and get to spend time with certain people? Yes, frat parties sometimes are the only place where you get to spend time with your friends. But did you realize that most of the people who are part of the hookup culture probably participate because they can never achieve emotional fulfillment? Everybody hooks up with so many people that they don't remember, and if they do, they pretend they don't.
That could be cool in a big city.
It,
But remember, we live in a 2,000 person town where everybody knows each other and everybody knows what's up. This behavior makes us live in permanent awkwardness, uncomfortable with people of the other sex. Hey, Mom. People usually don't develop their emotions. They just want to fit in because the show demands it.
having an actual sober conversation outside of a frat party?
Dude, that's crazy. That doesn't even happen in McClure.
Why, if we are in college, are people so childish? Why ignore someone instead of having a conversation about last night? What are we afraid might come of it? Maybe something deeper could go from there. Unfortunately, we choose to follow the Truman Show's code of conduct. Follow what the rest do. Don't even think about being different. People are stuck in adolescence during their 4 years of college until they abandon the show.
Sewanee's a real tiny place, where students living in permanent contentment are also divided into tons of social groups. Groups that don't interact with each other. Everybody's nice to everybody, but nobody seems honest or sincere about getting to know the others.
Okay. The real Sewanee is segregated. That didn't go as well. It's segregated. It's segregated. The norm is stereotyping the others without any effort to break those barriers. You don't believe me?
How many times have you heard, I don't go to insert fraternity here. They do not like people like me. Let's insert color, race, sexual preference, religion, or any other thing. Or, I don't like these people. They are blank.
How many of these people who say that have actually gone to that place they don't like, actually don't like it? How many of these people have actually gone to this place? Or how many of these people have tried to meet someone from that social group to see if they are that way?
How can we live fully integrated in a small town where everybody criticizes without knowing? In all these social groups, like in real life, they're incredibly awesome human beings. And also people who really suck. We focus on the negative of each group to label them, and then we make no effort to challenge these predetermined characteristics.
The Truman Show also offers a wide variety of incredible and life-changing experiences, but unfortunately, not many partake. Deciding if this place is a limbo or a hell depends on you.
Right. On your daily decisions, on how you behave, on what you do toward the others. You can choose to close your eyes and keep pretending that you live a perfect bubble.
Or instead, you can be yourself and not how the show wants you to be. You can have fun and get fucked up without blacking out. You can hook up with someone that you like and talk to that person rather than pretending that nothing happened. You can talk to the others and you will be surprised about the amount of awesome friends you had not met before.
You are the only one who can decide if these are going to be the best 4 years of your life. Don't wait until you are an adult to be mature. This is your life, not fiction.
still made you come. How dare you treat me that way? I was hurt, manipulated, agitated, the list goes on. But wait, you all don't know the story, so let me tell you. Around this time last year, I really liked this guy. I wasn't sure if he was gay, but he knew I was. So gay that flamboyant was probably the first word I said as a baby. Hell, everyone knew and still knows. I made every attempt I could to get it. I started looking up how to be flirtatious on Tumblr, Pinterest. I was even close to asking my advisor. We had been friends, sort of, but I wanted more. I was out, I'm pretty sure he was in, as in closeted, as he probably still is, which is fine. We had a good run, or training session maybe. Actually, I wouldn't even call the situation a 1K. I kept trying to get to you emotionally, and all you did was play hard to get. Why? Why? I still ask myself that to this very day. You knew who I was. I'm sure you knew my street cred. So why did you play hard to get? We exchanged gifts on Valentine's Day. We hooked up at the retreat. I thought we could have had something. Shit. Even Cora and Asami happened, and nobody saw that one coming. That night at the retreat, the way you smiled at me as I followed you back to your room, the way we played 21 questions to tell you only had a tank top on, the way you even made the first move by turning off the lights, the way I was on the floor, subordinated. But don't worry, guys, this was just a hookup. The way I sucked tip, just how you liked. Even though I kind of didn't want to swallow, but I still did because I wanted to connect with you. Not sperm to esophagus to belly, but heart to mind to love, if that makes sense. And even though you raged at me for just wanting to hang out that night, I forgive you. I just wanted to get to know you, I swear. I just wanted to see how you were on the inside. Not the physical part of you, but the love, the kindness, the tenderness inside of you. Even though when you knew I liked you and you liked me, you still played hard to get. And I forgive you. Reputation isn't everything. And now I just want to say that you can pretend I don't exist, but I still made you come.
Boys will be boys. Now come on everybody, let's get real. Boys will be boys. We love a good wrestle on the frat house lawn. After a couple of beers, go over to another house to watch boxing, spend the night watching the ladies stream into the house, and hopefully take at least one home. Because boys will be boys. Seriously, boys are supposed to be rambunctious and horny and promiscuous and noisy and a little rowdy and always fun and never too serious. We're supposed to pull some impressive stunts along the way and have a good time doing it. Everyone in here knows a lot of boys, and everyone in here knows, I'm right. If you want to get technical, okay, it's a cultural gender norm, but that's what we were born with, that's what we grew up with. Are we seriously supposed to just drop it now that we can have some real fun with it? Seriously, boys will be boys. We don't need rules or someone telling us how to act. Hell, we do what we want. Boys will be boys. It's practically our primordial nature. Boys will be boys. Boys. In light of that, what am I supposed to do? Now, when I watch this stumbling, way too drunk girl get dragged away by the belligerent, way too defensive guy, do I let boys be boys? When I see freshmen beaten, pissed on, shown their place, forced to throw up, and taught that that's just the way it is, do I let boys be boys? When 3 of the women I respect most in my life have been raped multiple times each, how the fuck am I supposed to let boys be boys? Here's a thought. Let's expect boys to be men. Men who are held accountable for their actions. Men who understand that their sexuality is about more than a lot more about than just their own cum. Men who listen when their partners say, slow down, or stop, or no, or no. Men who see new younger members of our community not as peons or pledges, but as the boys they are in need of supportive, empowering guidance toward manhood. There truly are men here in Sewanee. I hope everyone here knows at least one of them. So here's a call to Sewanee's men. Stop letting boys be boys. It's time they really grew up. Expect them to be men. Expect them to understand dignity, everyone else's, and their own. Expect them to understand that when they were children, they spoke, thought, and reasoned as children, but they cannot approach their whole lives this way. To do so would be detrimental to themselves, because they remain trapped in this narrow existence, but to everyone else in the community as well. Further, support each other. As men in this task, it sure as hell is not an easy one. We have an uphill struggle to show boys how to be men. The childish shouts can be deafeningly loud, so we have to be vocal about this if we want to drown them out. Otherwise, we may find ourselves overwhelmed in a mob of boys, never knowing that another man was right beside us. Come on, everybody, let's get real. Boys should be men.
Here's a statistic. I have herpes. This is none of your business unless I'm sleeping with you. However, I'm sharing this with you not only to get this giant burden off of my chest, but also to tell you that it's not as horrible as it seems. I got it from this dick while I was abroad, literally a dick, but also a selfish, manipulative, lying asshole who wrote me letters about how much he felt at ease when he looked into my eyes. It all started off so wonderfully that I wasn't even sure if it was real or just a dream. I never thought that I would be that girl who fell in love while she was abroad. But I was beginning to realize that I was quickly becoming just that. I constantly had butterflies in my stomach. I was beginning to think this would really last. But then he met another girl and dropped me like it was nothing. After I told him that he gave me herpes, he baked me a goddamn cake. How is that supposed to make me feel any better, you fuck? And he wrote me another letter that said that he had engraved regret and guilt with a glowing knife deep into his brain. I think it probably sounds that stupid because of a translation error, but still who says stuff like that? But this isn't about him anymore. It's about me. It was painful as fuck when I had my first breakout. I don't think I have ever been so miserable in my life. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't pee, I couldn't sit down in a chair without slowly lowering myself into a position where I wasn't wincing in pain. To top it all off, I had to go on a hiking trip with one of my classes during this. Imagine hiking through the mountains with tiny little knives stabbing you in the vagina with every step you take. The horrible anxiety that fills you up every time you have to pee, and the thought that you will be living with this for the rest of your life. Those thoughts haunted me constantly. One of the hardest parts about this is when my friends who don't know about it joke about people who have herpes or say things like, I would never want to encounter a disgusting vagina like that. Well, let me tell you this. My vagina is not disgusting. I'm not constantly festering with horribly painful sores, and I'm not contagious unless I have a breakout. Fortunately, I am on a medication that is 99% effective in the prevention of breakouts, so I don't have to worry. I always use a condom now, and I've made the choice not to tell people that I'm just casually sleeping with. I've decided only to tell my sexual partner when the relationship seems to be turning into something real. Sometimes I'm afraid no one will ever love me because of it. It's easy for you to say that that's a ridiculous statement, and if I didn't have this STD, I would tell someone else who had herpes that very thing. But when you actually have it, it doesn't seem that ridiculous. People run away so quickly from things that scare them. Here's a statistic. 1 in 5 Americans has herpes. So it's common and not worthy of your judgment. I'm not trying to scare you away from sex. Have all the sex you want. But be aware of the possible danger that comes with it. Condoms are good things. Don't make my mistake and not use one. Herpes didn't really change me. It changed nothing about the way I look or my personality. I'm angry. I'm afraid. I'm sad. But I'm still me.
Let me clarify. It has been reported that a sexual assault has occurred in an academic building on campus Friday, November 14th, 2014, around 12 a.m. No further information is known at this time. Did you see that email? Did you read it? And if you did you know it was about you? Probably not. It was pretty vague, as the person who submitted it intended it to be. Not many details, no specific identifiers. I can see how you might have missed it. But let's be honest, even if you had read those scant 2 sentences, and even if the dim, half-formed thought had flitted across your mind that maybe they referred to the sex that you had in an academic building on Friday, November 14th, 2014, around 12 a.m., you never would have actually believed that what happened that night was sexual assault. You never would have thought that what you did to me that night in that classroom was rape. So let me clarify for you. You raped me. But of course you don't see it that way. No, I didn't expect you would. You think you didn't rape me because I willingly went to that classroom with you, not really all that drunk, because I let you into my room and I didn't try to fight you or scream or do whatever it is a real rape victim is supposed to do. And unfortunately, based on that evidence alone, a lot of compassionless people would probably agree with you and dismiss me as a spiteful, lying bitch brainwashed by the feminazi agenda. But you would be wrong. You raped me. Because in the midst of what was up till then a consensual hookup, you decided to try something, to see how far you could go. Not by asking me, but by ramming yourself into me so hard that I screamed out in pain and wrenched myself away from you. You didn't give me a choice. You didn't respect that maybe I had my own plans for what could and could not be done to my body, and that maybe your desires should not be prioritized over my bodily autonomy. You just did it. You raped me because when I told you not to do it again, you waited a minute or two, and then there you were again, using both your dick and your words to try to convince me I wanted it. I didn't. You raped me because later, after I'd frantically thrown my clothes back on, crying, confused, shocked, after I had for some reason tried to assure you that no, I'm okay, it's nothing you did, and yeah, it's totally fine if you come back to my room with me. We got into my room and you fucked me. While I lay there, tears still rolling down my cheeks, trying to be as still and silent as possible so that you'd know something was wrong and you'd stop. You didn't. Now I'll admit, I made a number of questionable decisions that night. Decisions that if I could, I would go back and change. Instead of trying to preserve your ego, I would probably say something along the lines of, no, you fucking asshole, I'm not okay with what you just did to me. Instead of denying that anything weird had happened in that classroom and letting you follow me back to my room, I would probably tell you to leave me alone. And instead of staying quiet about it for weeks after, I would wake up the next morning and plaster your face all over this goddamn campus, shout your name from the fucking rooftops. I would let everyone know what you did to me. Regardless of my crappy decisions that night, I never, ever did anything to deserve the pain and anxiety and fear and sadness that I have felt that night and have continued to feel every day since. It was your decision to hurt me. Your decision to take control over someone else's body and to completely deny her her humanity. I had a number of different choices I could have made that night, but let me tell you, it's a little hard to be rational and smart when you're panicking and overwhelmed. Shocked that someone you chose to be the most intimate act with has become your attacker. You should have made a different choice. You should have chosen to respect me and my body and my voice, and you should have just fucking asked. But you didn't. You raped me. Your choices have consequences. Thus far, the ones you made that night have only had consequences for me. And I wish I could put into words just how severe they've been. I'm not sure if you know what the aftermath of sexual trauma looks like, so allow me to paint you a picture. It looks like sadness. A whole lot of sadness. You spend a lot of time crying to your closest friends or your therapist, pleading them for a cure they just don't have. And when you're all cried out, there's the numbness. That dead feeling you get when nothing seems to be important or worthwhile and all you can do is lay on the floor in total silence and stare at the ceiling. All the things you used to love to do, all the songs that used to make you happy, all the places that used to be safe, they're dead. Any attempt to rediscover them, to bring yourself back to the happiness they once brought, is futile. They've been replaced with depression, emptiness, detachment. You try to get angry, to listen to your friends and your mentors when they tell you it wasn't your fault and that you should take action against them. But it's like all your energy has been sapped. Besides, getting angry would require admitting that something terrible happened that night, and you find it's often easier to just let the doubt creep in, to convince yourself that you made it all up and you have nothing to be sad about. You're paranoid that every sexual experience you'll ever have from now on could turn in the blink of an eye from a fun, consensual one to the worst night of your life. You feel like a fraud, since all your values have been put to the test, all the shit you've been spewing about reporting and seeking justice, and you can't just talk the talk, you've got to walk the walk. You're anxious, knowing that almost your entire academic and extracurricular life involves some sort of discussion of sexual assault, and you're going to have to put on a brave face every time it comes up in order to go about your business and not let one experience, one person derail your entire life. But no amount of smiling and bravery can change the fact that your body is no longer a fortress, a safe place. It's the enemy. Find yourself running into things a lot, like you've lost touch with how your body moves and how it's shaped. You look in the mirror and you hate what you see. All of a sudden, habits that you thought you had put to rest a while ago, when you learn to see your body as a tool to be used and not a problem to be fixed, they're back, and you spend your time after meals with your head in the toilet. You feel completely out of control, and you have no idea how to reclaim what has been taken from you. But let me make it clear right here and right now, I will reclaim my body. I will find myself again. I am not your victim, and I will not lay down and die. It may take a while, and it may take getting off this campus, but I will heal and then I will thrive. I am better than this, and I will no longer live my life defined by the fucked up events of Friday, November 14th, 2014, around 12 a.m. I am far more than the dark, sad shell of a person I have been, and you will not hold me back. You raped me, but you will not win.
The fight in my head. Smart children are worth more. My mom always made that clear to me. I tried for years to be a worthy child, but eventually I had to accept that I couldn't compete with my sisters. They're smarter than me. They get better grades, better jobs, and they are the ones my mom talks about at parties. A part of me despises myself for still caring, for still craving that love and affection my mom is too broken to give. I have better things to worry about. I'm fighting hard enough as it is to just keep my head above water. In October of my freshman year, I started having trouble sleeping. I would lie awake for hours at night and sit through my classes the next morning completely exhausted. I couldn't concentrate, I couldn't focus on what my professors were saying, and each step of the way, I was aware of this feeling of absolute inadequacy that was slowly taking over my life. I was sure other people could tell that somehow everyone knew that I didn't belong here, wasn't smart enough, wasn't good enough. So I hid myself in the deepest, darkest dungeons of my mind to protect myself from the eyes that I knew would only see inadequacy. I felt sure that people around me were always looking at me, judging me. I would lie on my bed for hours at a time, just staring at the wall. I missed classes and avoided my friends. When I ate, I went to McClurg alone. I felt like I needed to apologize to everyone and for everything. In my head, I listed all of my flaws over and over and over again. I had a stream of apologies running through my head all the time. To my friends, I'm sorry I didn't go out with you this weekend. I'm sorry I missed the sorority meeting. I'm sorry, I just don't feel up to getting lunch. I'm sorry for wasting your time. To my professors, sorry I missed class. I'm sorry I can't focus. Sorry I haven't been doing enough. I'm sorry I randomly started crying in your office. I'm sorry for wasting your time. To my mom, I'm sorry I'm not the daughter you wanted. I'm sorry I'm not as good as you deserve. I'm sorry I can't make you proud. And I'm sorry for wasting your time. Right around winter break, I told my grandma what my therapist had told me weeks before. I was, quote, severely depressed. She was very nice about it. She agreed not to tell anyone else in the family, and she reassured me and said that I would feel better soon. And then she told me that I just needed to try really hard to be happy. That this depression was a thing that was happening inside my head. If only I could focus on the real things around me, it would be better. I just needed to be strong. Be strong. But how can you be strong when your brain is convinced that you're a waste of space? Tell me, where do I find strength when I can't even make myself get out of bed in the morning? It's a funny feeling lying there. The rational part of my brain knows that, of course, I could move my feet and get out of bed, but at the same time, I'm sure that my legs simply could not carry me, that standing up would mean collapsing. How do you fight that feeling? Looking back, I realized that my grandma was right when she said that depression is something that happens inside your head. Technically speaking, the chemicals that control your mood are to blame. Her words were filled with love and encouragement, but in them, I also found flawed assumptions. Why do people seem to think that all the things that exist in our heads are under our control? Do we control every thought and chemical reaction in our own bodies? Absolutely not. I've met so many people who don't understand how depression works. They tell you to snap out of it or choose to be happy. As if I've chosen to be depressed. As if I'm trying to get attention. Why can't people see that mental illness is just as real as a physical one? You don't tell people who have pneumonia to just think it away, to just try really hard to stop coughing. Instead, you get them medicine. No one questions the legitimacy of their illness while they cough their lungs out. But instead of pneumonia, I had depression. And for some reason, we don't talk about it in the same way. I felt weak and ashamed as I kept trying to tell myself that my feelings weren't real, that they just existed in my head. But then it struck me, this thought that helped me see things in a new light and allowed me to let go of my shame. It was a quote from Harry Potter, and it put my frustration into words. Of course it is happening inside your head, but why on earth should that mean that it's not real? Depression is real, even if it is just in my head. I wish the story could be an empowering one, that I could tell you a story about strength and perseverance. I could write that story. It just wouldn't be mine. All I can give you is a tale of how the world around me turned colorless and hostile, and how I let that feeling seep into my brain and poison my thoughts. There are countless ways to deal with depression. You can take medication, see a therapist, or even read a self-help book. But the bottom line is no matter what, recovery takes time. It is a gradual process in which the bad days begin to give way to neutral ones. Sometimes maybe even good days. Eventually, the good days will outnumber the bad ones. At least they did for me. I stopped missing class all the time. I occasionally go out with my friends, and I've gotten my focus back. And I'm beginning to think that maybe, just maybe, I am worthy of love. Don't be such a girl. Don't be such a girl, I tell myself every morning when I look in the mirror and all I see is a conglomerate of imposed stereotypes and forced femininity.
Don't be such a girl. They say it all the time. Despite the standards of society, say this, shave that, show this much skin. Ideals of beauty dictating and compelling me. Don't be such a girl. I hear it in all the movies and everything I see on TV. Don't be wanton. Don't be prude. There is no exit in the virgin whore dichotomy. Don't be such a girl, I think, as you approach. Oppressed by your hegemonic masculinity, I begin to stumble and choke. And as your body and your eyes pass me, I just look down. Why do I always look down?
I dare you. On August 14, 2001, my parents and I boarded a plane, arrived in the United States, and never looked back. 2 weeks after our arrival, 9/11 occurred. Because of the panic the country was in, Congress stalled all visa reforms and legalization proposals. 6 months came and went, and in the blink of an eye, we became illegal aliens. Being undocumented meant growing up with limitations, uncertainties, and shame. I would love to consider undocumented people second-class citizens, but truth be told, we are considered less than that. Without a 9-digit number and a green piece of plastic, we are forced to live in the shadows. We are criminalized and have no rights. I remember being 10 and watching the news at every hour of every day as talks about a comprehensive immigration reform began to occur. So we watched and prayed, and I saw as my parents struggled to keep the household afloat while they saved money to pay the penalty, application, lawyer fees, and final taxes for a comprehensive immigration reform. We watched Congress kill. My parents have never let me forget their sacrifices were made for me to go to college and for me to thrive in the land of opportunity. That's why when college declared true helplessness washed over me. Because I was denied the right to earn a higher education in the country that I called my home, and to whose flag I had pledged allegiance to since first grade. In 2010, the DREAM Act was a bill that gave me and several millions hope for a brief moment, because it would have given childhood arrivals a pathway to citizenship and an opportunity to pursue our dreams. It died in Senate. I was hopeless. I felt small. On top of that, I was shaken by the divorce of the two who had been my only source of security and stability. I had a dark hour. But because of God's grace, I found purpose again, and I did everything and anything the Episcopal Church made available for youth. And it was that same God who led me to Sewanee, a private institution who had given hope to other dreamers before me. Because I have seen faith move mountains, I received my residency through my dad's new marriage, December 2012. I am no longer one of the 11 million who are undocumented in this country, but I hope that I can put a face to that vague and scary number. My parents did not leave Colombia fleeing civil war, or extreme poverty, or drug cartel violence. They came to search for the American dream. I don't know what it's like to have a parent be deported, or risk my life crossing the border. But I do know what it's like to go before an immigration officer and be immobilized by fear. I know what it's like to not be able to hold back tears because I was a victim of their scare tactics. I also know what it's like to be 6 years old and hyper-aware of my reality. I know what it's like to spend countless holidays and birthdays blowing out my candles, wishing that someday soon I could return to Colombia and hold my grandparents and cousins and aunts and uncles in my arms again. 13 years later,
God answered my prayer. I went through this broken immigration system, and I know it's a topic and an issue that cannot be ignored any longer. For years, I have called myself a dreamer because it sounded better than undocumented. But regardless of my legal status, I will always be a dreamer. Growing up undocumented has molded me into becoming a passionate, driven, and resilient young woman, and I know how powerful that is. And I say powerful because I walk confidently in the direction of my dreams. I have seen the mountains faith can move, and I firmly believe God fights my battles in two ways. Sometimes He will do all the work, and I may have to sit on my hands and be patient. But sometimes He will softly whisper what He wants from me and guide me and show me how to initiate them and execute the plans. That's why I pray, I dream, and I go forth. Standing before you is the most vulnerable I have ever felt. Being vulnerable takes courage. I am reclaiming my voice, and I am letting go of shame. I am proud of where I came from, and I am proud of the parents who have taught me about faith, hard work, and have empowered me to dream. After running a marathon against time, I crossed the finish line August 12, 2013, when I drove past those gates, enrolled as a student at the University of the South. I have claimed my American dream, and I continue to dream big because I have a God who loves the impossible in order to be glorified, and who has called each and every one of us to be bold. So I dare you to dream. Most importantly, I dare you. I dare you to rethink the humanity of undocumented immigrants.
The president. He went to UVA. He went to UVA and he shot himself with his roommate's gun. He shot himself when he was my friend. He was my friend and he shot himself. Not only was he my friend, not only did he shoot himself, but he was our class president, our high school class president. He embodied everything we stood for, and we loved him for it. We loved him for his booming laugh, his gentle smile, his caring hugs, and the innocent and purely genuine way he asked you how you were. We loved him, but he suffered. He shot himself, and we still can't stop loving him. It is seriously fucked up the way that society makes us beat ourselves up to get where we think we need to go. We kill ourselves. We are killing ourselves. Event after event, paper after paper, sleepless night after sleepless night. We are the zombies of apocalypse lore. We are the living, starved youth of America, and we are only thirsty for success because this is what they did to us. If someone like him went to UVA and shot himself, how do I deserve to be here? I had to work hard to get to where I am. My mother alone had to fight to get me to where I am. But now that I'm here, I don't know if I even deserve it. He was the very best of us and we killed him. He was the very best of us and he killed himself. The system is flawed. The system is flawed, so fuck the system. Fuck the system, because he slipped through the cracks. He slipped through the cracks, but fucking the system won't bring him back.
The happy ending. When you realize something might be wrong with your vagina, don't panic.
It's your first time having sex, you know, real sex. It seems like a big deal since you're in high school and buying condoms still makes you feel like a badass. When you flatten the seats in his Honda so you can do it in the back, and when you lie down and spread them, and something is just not right, please don't panic. When he tries to put it in and it hurts like a mofo, don't think you have to keep going. You should understand. Later, when you get home, Google your problem. Do not, I repeat, do not Google image it, however. When you put it in the Google search bar, my vagina is too tight, chances are the first thing that will come up is vaginismus, a word as gross and scary as it sounds. The website vaginismus.com will tell you that vaginismus is vaginal tightness causing discomfort, burning, pain, penetration problems, or complete inability to have intercourse. Later, when you try to have sex again, and then again after that in a different position, and then again after that with lube, and then again after you've completely emptied the lube container on your body, and it's as slippery as a stick of butter, continue to remain calm. You'll be tempted to despair. You knew your first time might be awkward, but you didn't know it would be rife with sexual dysfunction. You thought that only 50-year-old men on Cialis commercials had sexual dysfunction. And now you do too. You will do more research. You will try to meditate to make it easier. You will order vaginal dilators from Amazon. Yes, those are a thing. You will make an appointment to go to your gyno. You will cry on the way home after she tells you that sometimes it takes years for people to heal enough so that they can have penetrative sex. You'll feel defective. You'll realize that, yeah, a lot of this has got to be physical. Your vagina is just really small. But you'll also realize that maybe you've never actually been aroused. And that all of this awkwardness stems from some deep-seated anxiety issues you thought you'd grown out of. You'll realize maybe you weren't listening to your body all along. At this point, things will start looking up. You'll realize that your worth and your growth doesn't depend on whether you can fit a dick into your body. You'll tell your best friend and she'll share all of her own embarrassing stories and you'll laugh about how unfortunately hilarious it all is. You will take a break from trying to force sex on yourself. When you reach this level of content stasis, take your time. If you're ready to start the physical therapy, then you can start to play with those nifty vaginal dilators that Amazon sent you. Try to hide them from your roommate, but expect that she will undoubtedly find them and share a what the fuck moment with you. Then one day on the floor of your room in St. Luke's, the guy asks you if you want to, and if you want to, don't be afraid. Let it be awkward and let it be fun, and let him know that you may need to stop if it's painful. If he's worth it, he'll stop if it's painful. And then, when it's not painful, rejoice. You did it, you healed. The happy ending, though, will not be that you can finally have penetrative sex. The happy ending will be realizing that your body is not embarrassing, and it's not defective. The happy ending will be realizing that even if you have vaginismus your whole life, there's more to you than just your hind maintenance JJ. So when you realize something might be wrong with your vagina, don't panic. Listen to your body. Listen to what your body wants. Make your partner listen. And never think of your body as wrong again.
The bite. When I was little, I got a precious black puppy. He had that puppy smell. He was new, soft, and basically a big ball of yarn. I told my mom, I don't want to hug him too much because one day he'll leave me. My mom just laughed and said, honey, that's ridiculous. You don't need to worry about that. When I was 8, my mom left home because my dad had threatened her. A year after that, my puppy had grown up to bite people, and we had to give him away. I've been afraid to be close to anything or anyone ever since because I have the lingering feeling they're going to hurt me or leave me, and I probably always will.
Good is silence. When the shot went off, we all fell to the floor. It was just some kid with his fingers in the shape of a gun. And we were 20-year-olds playing dead to protest the killing of some other kid of some other color on some other ground. When they got back up on the hardened tiles, no one watching said a word until they left and found walls of anonymity and could kick their tongues at us without discretion. Weeks later, when the talk died down about the warm bodies turned cold on cold earth, we forgot about the kid on the floor, the one we protested for, and we realized that things unspoken are not things to resolve.
Drink up to break up. Is it okay to break up with someone when you're drunk? I didn't think so. But you did. You said it was the only way you could work up the courage to do it. Was I really that scary? I thought I looked nice. It was your formal, after all. Your timing sucked, by the way. Exams were next week, so I didn't have time to be sad. I didn't have time to sit in my bedroom eating a pint of Ben & Jerry's and crying my eyes out. Instead, I had to keep myself from breaking down in the middle of the Academic Technology Center, passing my tears off as stress rather than heartbreak. Easy to do when you have 4 finals and 2 papers looming in the next week. I couldn't be sad at home either. I didn't want to be a wallowing stereotype in front of my siblings. They didn't get it anyway. Almost all of our 17.2, almost a year and a half, almost, of those months spent together were here, away from them. So I convinced myself I was happy. Tinder is a great self-esteem booster. The highlight, though, was running into your mom. A beautiful reminder that I don't have to deal with her smiley, passive-aggressive bullshit anymore. But now we're back at school. I put on a happy, nonchalant face. And it's honest, 90% of the time. Our friends still ask me if I'm okay. Then tell me in hushed tones that they're not sure you're doing so well. Your actions suggest otherwise. Your words do too. You seem good when we talk, but you only talk to me when you're sober. You avoid me at parties when you're drunk. You know, it's almost as if you're afraid. Afraid that you'll do something you'll regret.
My island. My grandpa died when I was young. A week before I left, my mom told me he had cancer. My grandfather had cancer. I was so caught up in the excitement of leaving that I didn't really even think about it, what it meant for my mom. Her father was being confronted with disease and possibly death. I wonder if she knew then. It had crossed her mind that in 2 months' time she'd be saying goodbye to him. So I packed my things and I headed south. A change of scenery, language, and people meant I didn't have to think about it. My parents kept me posted through regular emails. Chemo, pneumonia, emergency room visits. His death came as such a shock to me, but looking back, I just wasn't reading the signs. I distracted myself by worrying about food parasites, snorkeling, and sunburn. This life was so foreign to my real one that I felt protected from all the bad that was going on at home. This was not real life. And as far as I was concerned, the real world was put on pause while I was gone. I was on my island, and nothing bad could happen. But then I got an email from my mom. She said that she and her brother and sister were going to Florida. My grandpa was being put in a hospice. I knew what that meant. For a second I thought that I might need to prepare for the possibility of my grandpa dying. But I was on my island. Nothing bad can happen. So I marked the emails unread and I went to the bar with my friends. Yeah. I didn't want to deal with it. Little did I know that in about 12 hours I wasn't going to have a choice. The next day I stopped by the school before going to the beach. Another email from my mom. I could see the first few words on the bar. Sweetie, Grandpa passed. Shit, no! no. How the fuck did this happen so fast? I was on my island and nothing bad could happen. I opened the email. He died peacefully in his sleep, surrounded by family. None of that made me feel any better. It didn't change the fact that I was the only one of the cousins who didn't get to talk to him on the phone, to say goodbye. When I got home in December, I had a birthday card from my grandparents. My birthday was in September, a month before he passed. During all of that, they were still thinking of me. The card was nothing special, but at the bottom it read, "Happy 21st, love Grandpa." Seeing his handwriting was like going back in time for a moment. I kept that card like a totem. I always felt a special connection with him. We shared a middle name, and everyone says I look just like him in old photographs. I hate that I didn't think of him more that semester, that I didn't write him a fucking email, that I didn't send up more prayers. But I was on my island, you see, and nothing bad could happen. My grandpa died while I was abroad.
He's gonna be a man someday. Sometimes I think he might already be. He drives a 4Runner. He sings like he's been around for 40 years, and sometimes he feels like it too. In the first 17 years of his life, he's witnessed enough to write a book. But his story starts like your story starts, way before you were born. His parents have lives that could be books starting even before they were born. He's got one of those families that seems like it has a member to represent each route a life can take. But he doesn't really think about all of that. He just never knows what to do with his hands. He moves them around from spot to spot and they get clammy. It's not that his childhood isn't important to him, it's more that it's too important. You know, when you feel like you're feeling way too much. Like the lump in your throat is a balled-up paper towel, clogging all the words and voices that you need in order to express yourself. Like if you speak too quickly, the paper towel ball will come unclogged and you'll never stop crying or laughing. Well, that's what thinking about childhood is like for him. He can state the facts any day of the week, where they lived, how old they were, but hearing how he really feels gets you when you don't expect it. When you go to pick him up from high school and you're quiet enough and your car is suffocatingly hot, but so incredibly comforting and familiar, like he just sat down in a different atmosphere. But let a little bit slip out. He won't be afraid to feel nostalgia for something that he wishes didn't make him feel nostalgic, because if it falls out on you, he won't. Don't you think that sometimes things are just easier when you're laughing at someone or yelling at something? It's easier when his best friend is steady on the kick drum, and he can take his hands and put them to work for his head, and they tremble. And he can use his mouth to sing, or he can raise his voice higher than tears can reach and yell at someone on the phone. He drank champagne for breakfast one time just to be reckless, but then found out that the bubbles settled his nervous stomach, like driving stick shift down a mountain in New Mexico. When he's 20, he'll be standing with one hand in his pocket at a party in an apartment on the 3rd floor. He'll be seeing everyone doing whatever party attendees will be doing in 2017. Something he forgot will tap him on the shoulder, and he'll turn around and try to remember it, but it's already gone. He'll feel a cigarette in his pocket that someone gave him yesterday. He'll grab a lighter from wherever he can find one, and walk out of the apartment and down the stairs and onto the sidewalk. When he lights up the cig, that same thing taps him on the shoulder, and before he can turn around, someone's asking him for a light. It's a guy a couple years older than him, and he's wearing Vans, or maybe they're Keds. And the guy starts talking, and he says, "Look, man, you have cig on the ground," and as he walks away, he'll mention something about Sugar Land, Texas. And after he turns the corner, you realize maybe he never even existed at all. He walks to his 4Runner and drives home, thinking about when he was a kid, and he thought that when you flush the toilet on an airplane, it all just gets shot out into the sky and lands on someone's head. When he gets home, he'll put on a record, or a tape, or a CD, or an iPod, or whatever they have in 2017, and he'll finally remember that thing that keeps tapping him on the shoulder. It's this time he went camping with some of his friends. It was hot out, and he hadn't eaten very much before the shrooms. He thought maybe he was going to die, but when he didn't, he started to see the molecules of water swirling into white. He saw two of his friends hug for at least a minute. It was as if any jitters or sadness or anger transferred from one to the other, like a terribly beautiful butterfly on the verge of fluttering into a flame, beginning to fly in reverse, and folding herself back into her cocoon.
Not even Kanye. When I was 14, one of my best friends told me he was in love with me. I'd known for a while, but I avoided the topic at all costs. He told me he wanted to be my boyfriend. I told him I had no interest in him romantically, and that a relationship would ruin our friendship. Feeling sufficiently awkward about the situation, we ended the conversation. I went to bed. The next night, I logged on to Facebook to see a message from him. It was a link to a song. No message, just the YouTube link. I clicked it and heard the opening line. In the night, I hear them talk. The coldest story ever told. Somewhere far along this road, he lost his soul to a woman so heartless. That's right. He sent me Kanye West's wildly popular song, Heartless. I was mortified. I went to my sister for advice, and her only words were, "I can't believe you said no to him. You were such an ice queen." When I was 16, I attended a month-long summer academic program. About a weekend, I found a sweet boy, and we went on a few dates. At first, I really enjoyed hanging out with him, but I lost interest. We were on our third date at a dance when he leaned in to kiss me. I knew I didn't want this to go anywhere, so I dodged. His lips met my forehead. I had to tell him that I didn't think we were a good match. The next week, there was a poetry session where students could present their pieces. I walked with my friends to see the lineup for the showcase. His name was on the list with his poem entitled, Her Blue Eyes. I felt the blood rush to my cheeks. My friends immediately turned around with their jaws dropping and began harassing me about how the poem must be about my blue eyes. Embarrassment, overwhelming. My senior year of high school, there was a boy that liked me. I hung out with him, we were good friends, we went to prom. I knew he liked me, but again, I avoided the subject. Last month of school, I started dating someone else, and when my friend found out, he did not take it well. He called me in a flurry one day and told me he liked me. I told him I was sorry, and that didn't change my feelings toward him. I was already dating someone. Immediately felt our friendship dynamic shift. He distanced himself. Several days later, my closest friends and I piled into the auditorium for the end of the year talent show. After watching several mediocre acts, I saw him walk onto the stage with his guitar. I clapped as they announced his name. And then he started playing. As the entire auditorium filled with Jack Johnson sitting, waiting, wishing, I sunk lower and lower into my seat. He stared at me the entire time. Not to mention my friends were laughing hysterically. I wish I were anywhere else in the world. Now, I didn't understand it when I was 14 or 16 or even when I was 18. All of these boys were making fools of themselves, but I was the one who felt ashamed. I was the one embarrassed because I had the audacity to say no to something I did not want. So they punished me with poetry and offensive rappers. Now I can look back and laugh at these situations for how pitiful they truly were. But I wasn't always the well-developed feminist, and I am today. Someone that could say no without feeling guilt, shame, or embarrassment. Someone that can appreciate her own self-worth, measured by my standards, not a boy's. I am powerful. I make my own decisions. No boy, not even Kanye or Jack Johnson, will ever make me feel bad about that.
Keep yourself warm. I'm walking back to my dorm. It's 2 a.m. and it is really fucking cold. It's uncomfortable. I don't deserve to be comfortable. This cold is punishment for my transgressions. I knew I would feel this way after. I knew it was a decision I would regret. But while I was fucking you, I didn't think about that. Sex is a reprieve from all the bad. A chance to breathe. A chance to ignore the rising tide of self-loathing bullshit that's threatening to drown me. As soon as I came, I got the hell out of there. I never asked your name, but you didn't ask mine either. This was strictly physical for the both of us. As I walk home alone, I am so aware of how unintimate sex can be. How unintimate sex is for me. I thought I was all better than this. I thought I had grown up. But being back at Sewanee has proven me dead wrong. The heavy drinking, the not remembering. I do all of this just because I'm trying to feel less alone. But it doesn't make me feel less alone. How many times do I have to drunk text the same guy and get no response before I realize this isn't what I need? I'm back in my room now. I play some music as I get ready for bed. The song plays, "It takes more than fucking someone to keep yourself warm." I lie in bed, unable to fall asleep, thinking about how I'm better than this. Wondering, am I better than this? I see all my friends fall in and out of love, and it makes me so jealous. I see guys pay attention to them, pursue them, and it drives me nuts. They have no idea what a luxury all of that is. Love, companionship, feeling understood. Everyone wants these things. I just look in all the wrong places. In all the wrong ways. The vague feeling of false intimacy that comes with hooking up with a guy I barely even know is not worth the shame and disgust that comes with it. I feel like I'm on the perimeter, completely alone in this. I feel like I'm outside in the cold, alone, trying to keep myself warm.
In loving memory of 418. I was sitting in McClurg the morning after trials for Sewanee EMS when the little black pager on my hip sounded for the first time. The high tone didn't register for a few seconds, but eventually I realized, oh, that's for me. And then I was sprinting out of the cafeteria toward the ambulance bay, which I reached just in time to grab my new jumpsuit and hop in. I probably looked pretty silly bursting out of the cafeteria with a look of panic on my face, but I'll be honest. I felt badass hopping into that speeding truck with the lights and sirens blaring. We showed up on the scene a few minutes later, and my new coworkers took control of the situation while I looked on, impressed and intimidated by their skill and professionalism. The next year was an adventure, to say the least. I responded for vehicle collisions, cardiac and respiratory emergencies, traumatic falls, and blunt impact injuries, to name a few, and ran on more common, less glamorous calls for older patients that simply needed help getting up from the floor, or fellow students with bad strains of the flu. I memorized the words to decade-old mixtapes in our bulky old ambulance's glove compartment. I learned the difference between a good and a bad call. And I saw my normally tough and high-spirited friends emotionally totaled after a few particularly bad ones. Most of all, though, I found a new family in the men and women that worked alongside me. Together, we were part of something complicated and difficult, but meaningful. And I never felt so drawn toward a collective purpose as when I was a sophomore EMT. We welcomed in a new group of trainees that spring, and I couldn't wait to introduce them to the tough but fulfilling world of emergency medicine. That was when things started going downhill. This past August, I returned from summer break, antsy to go back on call. There was a little problem though. Some state regulations had changed, and we needed to find a way to get a paramedic onto our ambulance with us. But rather than keep our service informed so that we could help with the changes that would need to be made, certain members of the administration had decided to, wait for it, appoint a committee in order to handle the situation. The result? A few weeks into the school year, we were notified in so many carefully politically worded sentences that SCMS would be absorbed into a nearby private ambulance service. To put it generously, the situation was not handled nearly as diplomatically or respectfully as it should have been by those calling the shots. For example, it didn't seem to bother any of the higher-ups that none of the people that actually managed and operated our service were consulted or even notified during the decision-making process. Nor were we treated by any stretch of imagination like the licensed adult specialists that we are, and we were met with essentially no willingness to cooperate or compromise. But I don't want to dwell on all the ways that this process could have been more appropriately handled, or rather, I should say, I do want to dwell on it, but I won't, because I could complain about the situation indefinitely. But I think there are some really important ideas that can be drawn from the heartbreak of these past few months. We met with a high-level administrator last semester to propose a few possible solutions to the situation. Shortly after pushing alongside the 1,100 signature petition we brought, he made an important point. The changes that are being made to Sewanee EMS are necessary because they'll make the model that Sewanee follows more like the one followed by student EMS services at other schools across the country. But then a coworker of mine highlighted an important observation. Sewanee works as an institution. It means as much as it does to so many people precisely because it's not the same as other schools. Its uniqueness and weirdness, if you will, is not a flaw. It's what people love about it, and making the school a stronger and better place should not mean homogenizing it and eliminating its wonderful quirks, its abnormalities. I've thought about this a lot lately. It is weird that we have an EMS service that runs exclusively by students and community volunteers. Just like it's weird that we have a campus with 13,000 acres of woods that can be readily explored. It's also weird that we're in close enough proximity with our professors to develop deep friendships with them. And it's weird that we wear long gowns to our classes, and that we repurpose old stone hospitals as dormitories, and that we use rock climbing and caving to orient new students at the start of their freshman year. But does this weirdness mean that we should do away with all these things? I sure don't think so. And I've come to fear more and more during these past few months that Sewanee is at risk of losing much of what in the past has made it an extraordinarily quirky and amazing place. There's another big concern that's really starting to jump out at me lately. To employ a cliche phrase, the Sewanee that I know and love is a place where students, faculty, and staff come together as a unified body, all individuals bearing diverse interests and goals in order to develop solutions that benefit every party involved. It's meant to be a place where people share an open and honest dialogue about important issues so that the best possible solution can be reached. I've begun to fear lately that the transparency I so treasure is being compromised. It extends outside of SCMS and my direct sphere of involvement. I've heard from numerous on-campus leaders who feel the recent lack of openness and disclosure from certain university administrators has made it extremely difficult to collaborate effectively. People feel like things are being hidden from them in order to streamline big changes that are in the works. What I want is for the opinion of students, the folks that form the backbone of this university and that carry out most of the actual operations within campus organizations, to be taken seriously by the higher-ups that make the committees and sign the final papers. We are part of this community and we deserve to be treated as one. Sewanee should be a place where we can openly discuss complex issues and make reasonable compromises. A place where leaders include all interested parties in the decision-making process rather than going behind others' backs in an effort to quicken the process. Now, maybe I come off a bit bitter. To be honest, I probably am. Sewanee EMS was our baby. My fellow EMTs and I had helped build it up, and we saw great things in its future before things fell apart this past semester. I'll miss Sewanee EMS terribly. I'd never in my life found something nearly so much purpose in what I was fighting for on a daily basis. It breaks my heart a bit, but it also makes me smile to look back on the adventure I took part in for a little over a year. I guess, though, that even if I can't continue to run calls out of ambulance 418 alongside my best friends, I can still find some solace in the memory of bursting out of the cafeteria and sprinting toward the station in a frenzy of excitement and terror.
Part 1, you. I let you in my fort. Do you remember that? It was cold and raining and I was hungover. I only bring it up now because the light muffled by my brown curtains as I walk up to my loft reminds me of that same sanctuary. Except it's not as comforting. I've been thinking about writing you for a while. You sat on my bed making me feel important. I could tell you were bullshit, but I chose to believe you. I needed you to be my friend. You asked me to go to Crust. I said yes. You were holding a beer. It was 11 a.m. on a Sunday and definitely not your first. This sounds dramatic, and it makes me cringe to be so immature, like you. But I fucking hate you. I really fucking hate you, and I want you to stop sending me dumbass Snapchats like we're friends. Stop pretending. I know you used me. You are fucked up. But now, so am I. And it has nothing to do with you. When he called after his overdose, all he could ask is if you and I were together. How could you do this to me? How could you make up so many lies without any hesitation? Who are you? Really, who the fuck are you? I never thought someone could be as fucked up as you. And now I'm that way. But it's not the same. I don't trick people. I don't use them or hurt them. I don't even talk to people. I don't care about them. I can't make myself care about anything these days. My body has become a slave to anxiety, capsules, and the fear that I may never sleep again. If I were pregnant, it would be your baby, which fills my stomach with such a burning pain I could spit flames. I never want to be associated with you again. Did you even come? You're so gross. We were gross. Cracked out at 3 a.m. What the fuck? Why didn't you say bye? I'm gonna stop name calling because I'm not good at it. But when he and I got up in the morning, he would kiss me on the forehead, help me make my bed, and dance to Bill Withers. You would watch me make my bed and do my work, all while showing off your knowledge of Reddit, which, by the way, blows. He thought we were together, but that's what you wanted, right?
Part 2, him. You. I'm not comparing myself to you, but I think I know how you felt. How did you do it? You opened up slightly, letting fragments slip through. Why did you trust me? I regret so much that I didn't listen. I thought we were just fucking her. I don't know. I couldn't babysit you. I was too proud and we were in different places. I hope you understand, because I didn't at all. You scared me. You were so perfect and cool. You made me feel like a chubby 5th grade girl who can't talk to boys yet. Not because you were mean. You were great. I was mean. I thought I needed to be tough, but that's not what you needed. I know how you felt now, I think. Do you still get the same feelings? The same desire to shut down and numb yourself? Were you using me too? It broke my heart when you told me that we didn't know each other. You were right, though. I'm not sure how to define who we are to each other. Maybe just two strangers that happened to meet at the wrong time.
I wouldn't have asked you to come, he said. Why? Because me not drinking would somehow change your night? Is it really going to affect how many drags of how many cigarettes you take? Or how many cups of punch you have? I know you. You are still going to sit on the same couch in the same tapestry-covered room, letting the bottomless cups wash down the you I sometimes really like, and that you doesn't know me at all. It's just another night. No different than the hundreds before it, us sitting on similar couches, staring at another tapestry. But this time I am different. Tonight, I am an actress playing a part, and I think I'm getting pretty good at it. But if he knew, he would be surprised, shocked even. They all would be, but he can't know. And God, what would he say? I'm just not ready for it all to change the way it inevitably will. The way he looks at me, the late night texts, the blurred nights and the dry mouthed mornings. Why am I so scared? God, grow up, I say to myself. But to them, I say, oh, I have the marathon this weekend, or, oh, I have a test tomorrow, so I need to take it easy. Because at the end of the day, I'm not ready to be that girl. We all know that girl. Oh, she doesn't drink, they say, when I leave the room or decide to stay in. And who would blame them? Then come the questions. God, I don't want to answer the questions. No, nothing bad happened. I'm not a victim. I wasn't attacked, and I didn't have a problem. I didn't go to some ritzy rehab. But if I had, would it matter? As soon as he knows, that'll be it. It won't matter how hard I laugh at his jokes, or how much his friends like me, how hot I am, or how much his dad liked me when we met over parents' weekend. And while I know all of this, I don't really know why. Why am I less in your eyes? Because of the fact that instead of a watered-down, cheap vodka drink in my hand is a Diet Coke, or God forbid, a glass of water. And why do you have the power to make me feel small, ashamed even? Because I gave you that power. As soon as I poured the first fake drink into that red cup 4 months ago, I single-handedly dug my own grave. And I've continued to dig and dig deeper and deeper, living in my lie. And can you blame me? Because I know it's not me he likes. Well, not the real me. He likes the fun me. The me who goes home with him without a word. The me that stumbles through the night hanging on his arm. He likes the fun me. The late night, good time, gone by 9 a.m. girl that I used to be. That girl was easy, but that girl isn't me. He wouldn't have invited me if he knew I wasn't drinking. His words, not mine. And somehow I'm still the one who's sorry.
Untitled. It began before I even considered going to Sewanee, back when I was an innocent, socially awkward teenager who dreamed of fitting in with the popular kids and excelling in school. I was a high school junior and I met this boy who was a freshman. He was the typical 14-year-old, confident, immature, a drummer in the marching bands. He exuded this bad boy vibe and confidence that drew others to him. I was immediately hooked, but was too shy to ever really initiate a conversation one-on-one. We did exchange numbers though, and soon it began to us having daily conversations. That's where it all began. It started off with some flirting via text message, and being the hopeless romantic that I was, I thought this was a sign that he wanted to take things further. Little did I realize that this would progress into something entirely different. Soon he began asking me what I would do if I was in a room alone with him, and describing things he'd do to me. I didn't realize at the time that what I was doing was sexting, so again, I went along with it. Most of what he described was too lewd to even mention here, and finally he asked if I would come by after school and have sex with him. I snapped out of the trance and I was in and realized what I'd been sending him. I realized that he wasn't interested in me at all. He only saw me as a sexual object and wanted to satisfy his lust with me, since I was so easy and willing. But I told him no, I wouldn't do it. Well, you can imagine what happened. He attempted to calm me down and told me that he would be gentle and would lay a towel down. I told him straight up that I wouldn't let him take my virginity, but I admitted I would let him touch me, a decision I would later regret. I still remember that day. I was wearing a dress, and he texted me to come back to a back room where he waited for me. I could have stopped myself, could have walked away, but my naive romantic side won out, hoping we would be boyfriend and girlfriend. That didn't happen.
I still feel his boyish hands grabbing me, telling me to get into it. I stared ahead at the door, realizing that I'd made a huge mistake and just wishing for it to be over. When he finished, he gave my butt a squeeze, winked at me, and left, leaving me there frozen stiff as a statue. That single event has haunted me ever since. I cut all ties with him, getting rid of his phone number and refusing to speak to him or respond to any of his Facebook messages. I didn't tell my family. They still don't know and probably never will. I didn't tell any of my friends what had happened, and even after I started school here at Sewanee, I didn't tell anyone. Why am I writing about something that happened in high school? I'll tell you why. Although I initially gave him consent, I immediately regretted it. It's been the main cause of my discomfort and suspicion in romantic relationships. My hesitation and distrust keep me from vulnerability. I was an innocent, stupid fool that allowed my idealistic innocence to get in the way. I became an object of sexual gratification to a stupid, empty-headed asshole who just wanted a blowjob. It's that experience that makes me afraid to commit to a relationship for fear of being deceived and hurt. Even after coming to Sewanee and becoming a strong, confident woman, this one event seems to be haunting me. I'm also uncomfortable with having a sexual relationship with anyone, feeling that anyone who wants to have sex with me will either find me repulsive or will only want me as a drunken hookup. I feel like if I tell anyone this, they'll find me disgusting. I feel ashamed of myself for letting it happen. Even now, as I write this, I can only feel shame and sadness. I see it as a punishment for acting unwisely. About a year ago, I received a message from the same boy who apologized for his actions, realizing the hurt he had caused me. I don't think I'll ever be able to apologize to him, and I know I won't be able to apologize to myself.
I had a pretty normal love life in high school. I went on dates, I went to school dances with boys I had crushes on. I even had one experience I'd call my first love. It wasn't all wholesome, of course. I spent a good number of nights messing around with boys in back seats on back roads. I broke a few hearts, I had a few heartbreaks myself, but I never actually did lose my virginity in high school like lots of my friends. I had done everything but. Coming to Sewanee, I was sure that college would be more of the same. There was a whole new pool of guys to hook up with, and who knows, maybe even date. And oh, my virginity? It would be gone by first semester. That's what happens to everyone in their first year of college, right? But no, things did not go as I had imagined. I haven't really hooked up or dated or really had anything close to a fling with anyone in Sewanee yet. Sure, I had a few dance floor makeouts during pledgeship, but short of that, I haven't gone home with any dude, and I am far from having a boyfriend. When freshman year passed, I reflected on this a little. I got into a sorority. I made great friends, great grades. I was worried I somehow wasn't operating like a normal college girl doing the casual hookup thing. I might still be getting over my old high school beau? Ah, yes. It was because of him that I couldn't open my heart or legs to any college suitor. Another year passed. My friends laughed and bonded over stories of hookups and boys, the good and the bad. I tried to contribute to the conversations, but couldn't get too far given my, well, lack of experience. And here I am, V-card still in hand. Who knows, maybe between the time that I have written this monologue and the time it's performed, I'll be the school tramp, or have found my one true love. But now, as I write this, I can't help but think, what, after graduating high school, caused all things romantic or sexual to come to a screeching halt for me? I have a few more or less rational theories. Theory 1, I've simply placed my priorities elsewhere. Definitely plausible. I have a lot going on that I truly care about, but I have wanted a relationship, a hookup or something, but I didn't want to make that a priority in my life. Things like that should just happen, right? My friends usually say, you could easily lose your virginity tonight if you really wanted to, but that's a cop-out. I know that in theory, there's probably more than one dude within a mile radius who'd be willing to do the deed on the spot, but obviously that wasn't what I was looking for, and I shouldn't have to be looking for that. Theory 2, I suddenly became less attractive in Sewanee. I've definitely had a few specific guys I've pursued whose interest wasn't reciprocated. As an insecure person, I relate that disinterest to my body, but I know that that isn't true. I didn't automatically lose all allure upon passing through the gates, even though sometimes my mind tricked me into thinking so. Theory 3, In Sewanee, there aren't many opportunities for platonic relationships. I can count on one hand how many males I actually consider my good friends here. One of them is gay. And when I trace back every person I ever liked, hooked up with, or dated in high school, we always had some sort of relationship beforehand. Long story short, I think I've discovered that I'm the type of person who likes to be friends first. Is that so much to ask? Some sort of emotional intimacy allows me to know that physical intimacy will be safe and enjoyable. So if I had more male friends, I'd have a better chance of getting laid. Statistics, right? I haven't really picked out any of these theories as the right one, but what's more important is that I've actually, developed them. I've developed the virgin anxiety, or the no boyfriend anxiety, or lack of a Sewanee hookup anxiety. I don't think about it all the time, but once in a while, I find myself in a conversation about hookups that reminds me I'm still clinging to the B card. I know that if I spend all my time worrying, then it's never going to happen, but the more that it doesn't happen, the more I panic. I am the unintentional virgin. No purity ring, no contract that I signed, not a desperate girl throwing herself at everyone, but if the right circumstances present themselves, I'll welcome them with open arms.
How the video ends. Did you know there's a pretty solid corner of the porn industry that markets lesbian rape videos? A lot of them get listed under the euphemism hardcore, as if it were one of your run-of-the-mill kinks, right before high heels and right after a hand job. The storylines, and I use that term loosely, tend to follow the same basic progression. Woman corners and overcomes victim, forces herself on her, and in the end, when all is said and done, the victim acts like the experience and normalizing what happened to me. People jack off to the scenario that played out, and the message that I get is that it was sexy when I asked her to stop and she didn't. It was hot when I was too drunk to understand how I'd gotten there and what was happening to me. It was erotic when I started crying because she wouldn't get the fuck off of me, even though I wasn't moving, I wasn't participating. She was using my body like a dead object that belonged to her. And I wish in that moment that it had been only a dead object. Porn will never, never get even close to the truth. So trust me instead when I tell you how the video really ends. I was raped. I didn't writhe in pleasure when she decided she was done with me. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't shower the feeling of her off of me. I wanted to rip off every inch of skin that she touched to stop it from crawling.
The lack. I will never understand what made you not care. Your firstborn, with the woman you love. What could I have done that made you not proud of me? What made you not want to keep in touch with me, not see me? What was it that I did or didn't do? As I turned 21 a few days ago, no call, no text. As a matter of fact, over the course of my 21 years of life, I've seen you how many times? Just enough to count on my left hand. 5. And each one of those attempts was me. Me sacrificing other relationships, high financial costs, and big risks to see you. Every time was me putting in the effort to see you. I will always wonder whether our time together was forced for you, or if you actually enjoyed time with me. Every so often I found myself sad, depressed, and alone, wanting only one thing. Why am I feeling this way? I'm happy. I have great friends. I have family. I have great opportunities right in front of me. Why am I sad? There will always be a part of me that I cannot fill. A void that will remain void until I have you. But I won't have you. I know I won't. I just want a father. What could I have done to make you leave me and never want to return? Mom, I love you with all that I am, and I wouldn't trade you for the world. Your sacrifice is not unnoticed. You are appreciated. But I need my dad. The man who's supposed to teach me how to tie my first tie.
But first, the man to prep me for my first date. The man I go to when I ask that special someone to marry me. The man I go to when becoming the man I want to be. Dad, where are you? Maybe this is the reason. Maybe I'm too emotional and I beg too much, and I should just be happy with what I'm already blessed with. Either way, I would do anything just to hear you tell me that you love me. That you were proud of me. That you wanted to be a part of my life. I would love to bring you here, to show you the place that has shaped me into the man I am. Show you some of the best people that I've ever met. My greatest accomplishments. Show you a part of my life. Show you what I am, and hope that you will see my potential. See the man that your son has turned out to be.
Choose love. Should my monologue be sad about my coming to terms with our tragic human condition? Nah, too dark for me. I wore pink pants last week, for Christ's sake. Should it be optimistic? I'm not that peppy of a person, though. My whole closet is black, besides that one pair of pink pants I just mentioned, and I prefer the tragedies over the comedies. Well, on that note, what about funny? Like that time I wrote deep-tooted in my thesis about the human condition instead of deep-rooted. Side note, let me just tell you, nothing sounds serious with the word tooted in it. I hope Reichman laughed. So I thought, okay, Mary Graham, if you could say one thing to a huge crowd of people, this is your chance, what would it be? Choose love. It's my mantra, it's my phrase, it's the only truth I've ever come to know in my 20 years. It can be applied to every scenario, every problem, and every area of my life. For me, it has always been the answer, especially in difficult times when there really seems to be no solution. The easy path is anger rather than understanding, silence rather than acceptance, apathy rather than empathy. But that gets you nowhere. You aren't proud of yourself at the end of the day, and more importantly, you won't be at peace with yourself. If I know personally that I at least chose love in every situation, no matter how difficult it was to do, I did all I really can do. I'm not religious, and I don't pretend to be, but God knew what he was talking about on the subject. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. And let me add on, sorry Jesus, love is permanent. Once you see the beauty in something or someone, you can't unsee it. But honestly, would you really want to? I wouldn't. It makes life worth living, seeing this beauty in other people and other things. So choose forgiveness rather than resentment. Choose vulnerability instead of composure. Choose to love yourself, which I firmly believe must happen in order to be able to love others. Choose love in every area of your life, and your life will fill with light. To love and be loved, I think that's all there really is to it.
The casualties. I wake up every single day so deeply conscious of the fact that I am still alive, and I give thanks to the God I believe in. I am alive. My parents are alive. My brother is alive. I was born and raised in Sri Lanka, a country ravaged by deep-seated ethnic conflict and violence. I was born into a civil war that nearly tore the country in half. The war lasted until my final years in high school. The 30 years of war and violence had drastic effects on the country. Our economy was poor. Money that would have flowed in through tourism had dwindled. Who wanted to vacation in a place they could very easily be blown to pieces in a bomb explosion or landmine? Resources were diverted towards defense as those that came into power tried their best to end terrorism and protect civilians. Yes, war was making us poor, but psychologically, the effects that it was leaving on us were far greater. Bombs, death, fear were part of our everyday lives. I went to bed every night, pleading with God to keep my family alive. I would bargain with him. If he kept us alive, I would stop skipping church. I would pay attention to the service. I would be a better person. One of my most vivid memories from my childhood is of sitting at my grandmother's feet, playing as she cooked breakfast one morning. My parents and brother were at the beach. We hear an explosion. She tells me to run next door to my uncle's house and ask him if he thought that was a bomb. No, he says, it was probably just fireworks. I turn to leave. Wait. My heart starts beating faster. We look out the window and together we see the smoke rise into the sky. He turns to the TV on and we listen as the news anchor confirms that terrorists were on the beach and had bombed the bank. My heart turned cold. Where were my parents and my brother? Were they safe? We had no way of contacting them, so all we could do was wait. My grandmother and me, sitting side by side in silence, watching the door. My 7-year-old heart trying to break out of my chest. I think I cried when my parents walked through the door. Then again, maybe I didn't. This was normal life for us. I still cringe when I hear fireworks because my mind goes back to the times I had to crouch under my desk in school when the warning bells rung. To the times we'd hear an explosion and rush to the telephone while my mother called all our family members to make sure they were alive. Or the times we turned on the TV and see absolute carnage. Parents kiss their children goodbye in the mornings, never sure if they'd see them again. School was canceled because of bomb threats. The city was plunged into darkness when the power supply was cut to ensure that bomber planes could not see their targets. Riding a bus or driving near one was dangerous because buses were targeted. Bombs were left all over the place in packages as civilians were being targeted or suicide bombers were sent to key locations. So many lives lost. When my brother reached his final years in high school, our family pooled resources so that he could leave and go to college abroad, where he was safe. We prayed that he would get a scholarship, which he did. When he left for England, we breathed a sigh of relief. One less person to worry about. I never truly thought I would live to see the end of the war in Sri Lanka. I didn't believe that I would live past 20. I did the math. Someone in our family was bound to die in a bomb explosion. Chances were that someone would be me. My mother was a stay-at-home mom. My father went to work and then came back home. I was the one that was on the roads the most, between school, extracurricular activities, and hanging out with my friends. It made sense that it would be me. As a 16-year-old, I had come to accept this. I wasn't scared. I didn't plan to leave Sri Lanka to go to college. To be honest, I didn't think I'd make it that far. My prayers changed from keeping all of us safe to keeping my parents safe. It was only in those last few months that I began to allow myself to cultivate hope. The army had finally begun to take over areas of the country that had been under terrorist hold. On May 18, 2009, with the death of the leader of the LTTE terrorists, the war ended. The casualties of the war? Between 80,000 and 100,000 deaths. Peace is something new in Sri Lanka. It is very fragile and strains under the weight of the deep-rooted divisions in society that the British Empire left behind. But it has brought us hope and security. The children born today will not have to cower under their school desks like I did. They will not have to know the fear of being left alone in the world. They will never have to mourn the death of their sibling who is just in the wrong place at the wrong time. They will not come to accept an early death as the inevitable. I wake up every single day, so deeply conscious of the fact that I am still alive, and I give thanks to the God I believe in. I am alive. My parents are alive. My brother is alive.
Fitting in. Today is Shake Day. As I'm writing this, a lot of you who are listening to my story are probably outside my window screaming your heads off. I'm happy for you, I really am. Today I woke up, drank my coffee, did my yoga, called my parents, did my laundry, the usual Saturday stuff. However, these tasks were accompanied by a subtle sense of dread. Knowing that in a few hours, almost everyone on campus would be shaking, or whatever you want to call it, while I tried to study. Or watch Gilmore Girls, whichever. Choosing not to rush wasn't an easy decision, and I still don't really know if it was the right one. I don't know if I will ever know, because I did find my place here, and I am happy. But being part of that tiny non-Greek minority is occasionally, especially on days like this, really hard. So let's talk about the GDI stigma. Most people don't see it, I don't think, nor do they stigmatize it on purpose, but there is, especially for girls, something that people assume when they find out you aren't Greek. I don't really know what it is, but I think the thought process is something along the lines of, what's wrong with her? Nothing is wrong with me. I'm great. I got a 31 on my ACT without even studying, and I know all the words to Blazin' by Nicki Minaj. This leads me to the boy problem. First of all, why aren't they drawn to me like flies to honey when they see my perfect eyeliner? And on a more relevant note, why does it feel like my lack of Greekness immediately marks me down as a no in their books? Why can't they see past it? Don't they know? I know all the words to Blazin' by Nicki Minaj. I said I'm still not sure if rushing was the right thing, and that is true, despite how well my life is going. Female friendship is so important. And looking around, seeing the beautiful bonds my friends have made with their pledge classes makes me jealous. I know that I kind of hate going out, and that socializing can be painful for me. And I know, having thought about it in long, philosophical conversations with just about everyone I know, that I would not be easily sorted into an existing sorority. Although I have considered founding my own, whose letters are my initials, and I'm sure I would be a perfect fit, I still wish there was a place I could have easily fallen into freshman year. This all goes back to the age-old problem of fitting in, which any sane adult human would tell you is a fool's game. But it's hard to be in the tiny 10%, sometimes without feeling like you're missing something. It's not rational, and it's not founded in any actual experiences, but it still feels shitty. There's very specific anonymity that comes with this life. A lot of people haven't met you because you weren't sufficiently mixed during pledgeship, and you don't have that singular 2 or 3 letter identification card. What sorority is she in? Brings up no results. And while I would rather be identified by the fact that I know all the words to Blazin' by Nicki Minaj than a sorority's name, sometimes a little ID wouldn't hurt. I want to say something specifically to freshmen who decided not to go through rush. Don't worry. I worried, and it was dumb. I know I'm presenting a somewhat negative view of my situation, but I promise you will make friends, and you will go out, you'll be invited to formals. Your Greek situation, or lack thereof, will not define you, and it will rarely limit you. There will be days when FOMO may make you feel like you made the wrong choice, but independents are not alone in that. People you know will drop their sororities or fraternities, or will be dropped. They will drop and then rush the same organization again. They will drop and then later rush somewhere considered the exact opposite of their original choice. Some people won't rush until senior year. All of these things, and stranger, will happen throughout your time here. There is no hurry to make a final decision. You may find that you've made the exact right choice, and if you haven't, there are still 6 more opportunities for you to rush and find your place. Here's what I know for sure. I love my friends and my teammates and my classmates deeply. I know I love Sewanee, and that I've never regretted coming here. I know that when my boyfriend broke up with me, about 800 people came rushing to pick me back up, even people that I barely knew at all. I know I am insanely loved here, and that our community will never let me down, whether I'm wearing letters or not. But I know that I will always feel just a little bit like I'm on the outside looking in, so I ask you, be nice to your GDI brothers and sisters. Put yourself in their shoes sometimes, and don't make judgments. We're all up here on this mountain together, and we're all a family. And for the love of God, settle down. It's 3:45 in the afternoon, and I'm trying to get some work done.
Let's get it over with. I was sexually assaulted, raped, whatever you want to call it. Let's just get that out of the way. I am tired of not saying it out loud. I could tell you about what it was like, about being pinned down under someone else's weight, about the visit to the crisis center, how terrified I was, about all the nightmares that followed, but I don't feel like talking about any of that. I could tell you about how hard it was to move out of my room where he hurt me without having to talk about what happened to me just with strangers. I could tell you about the gossip, the things people said about me, the people who didn't believe me when I needed help. But I am so tired of being angry, and I don't want to hold on to that feeling anymore. I don't want to talk about pain or everything that went wrong, because pain passes and hurts heal, and I am leaving old things behind. What I prefer to remember is the kindness shown to me in the wake of what was probably one of the most traumatic experiences in my life. Among you, there are several of whom I will never be able to repay. So let me talk about the people who showed me love in the face of my desperation. You know who you are, I'm sure. First, my darling friend, who let me borrow her voice when I couldn't find mine. You held my hand that night, smiled with me in my pain, taught me through the poking and the prodding in the doctor's office, and let me spend many a night in your room. And I'll never forget when you let me borrow your car to move all of my things to the new room, where I was able to make a new start. I couldn't have made it through this without you. You welcomed me into your house, and you made my weekends less lonely, and for every cup of tea and soy milk, I thank you now. And to my fellow survivor who let me sit at her feet and cry and not cry, you filled my world with hope for the next day. You were living proof to me that things would get better. You often took me by the hand and settled my raging spirits, knowing how alone this world felt to me. I remember your kindness now, and I won't forget it. To my companion who was there with me sporting in a hat when I began to cut layers of myself away, you've been an inspiration every day. I won't forget the birthday dinners, and your company relieved me of so many pains. I recall your generosity and understanding. I'd also like to let you know that I still have your newsborn, and I have every intention of bringing it back. To my dear Sterling's enthusiast, who met me there every week for a semester, you made me smile when I had no smile, and entertained me with conversations that encompassed everything from beetle mating rituals to personal healing. I'm so grateful to have met someone who loves Sterling's vinaigrette as much as I do. Thank you for guzzling it down with me under the warm sun at the picnic tables. And to my brilliant sisters, who always kept my weekends busy with sweet wine and foreign tongues, thank you for your understanding, and know that I love you both so dearly and carry you in my heart wherever I go. To my brother and fellow writer, for all the encouragement you gave me, you never let me stay down for too long. I'll even look back on your rebukes with a smile on my face. You kept me going when I was out of gas. Love you, man. To the kind boys who walked me home at night when I was too scared to go home on my own, I thank you. You will never know how much you helped ease my fears. And to the good doctor, who always listened intently and who even shed a tear or two for me. I'm sorry if I was ever difficult or cold, and I really appreciate your gentleness. You helped me to stay sane and honest, and you kept me afloat. It may be your job, but you were damn good at it, and I thank you for it. And to all the others who offered me a kind word here and there, you were all a source of encouragement. Know that in passing, your kindness left a mark on me, even when you didn't know it, and I shall not soon forget the goodness that I have been shown. Thank you 1,000 times over. I love you all more dearly than you could ever know. And so, Sewanee, I now have to say goodbye. I leave remembering the kindness that was shown to me. All the rest, the bad experiences, the pain, the hurt, I leave in the past. When I finally embark on my next adventure, I will keep your memory in my heart of hearts, and there it will stay with me, always. Be good to one another. Ciao, ciao.
Deja vu. We are gathered here today in honor of you fill in the blank. Because I'm pretty sure you know where I'm going with this. And after every word I say already, I'm getting a little pissed, because fact is, we are gathered here today in honor of the same shit. And I hate pulling the race card, but what a man supposed to do when that's all I get? Kanye, how you say it? It seems we live in the American dream. But the people of color, that's something we lack. Because the police killing people that even look black. I mean, how clear it gotta be to get justice? Do we gotta beat Darren Wilson to see him tell? Or do I gotta get beat like Emmett Till? We just try and do right and put our hands up. But you shoot anyway. They call us a nigger after we put our hands up. I mean, Obama, I appreciate your grinding, trying to change folks' minds.
Oh yeah, thanks for making the gas low. But what's low gas prices to a nigga that might get gas tomorrow? And they say Mike Brown should have never robbed that corner store. He would have never got killed, right? That's cool. But I got a question. Which one's worse? Robbing a corner store or getting your freedom robbed your whole life? Hypocritical? Or should I say despicable? No justice, no freedom, no indictment? Man, this grand jury's so ignorant, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't know what indict meant, but I'm a nigga, right? Cause I say some shit with a different accent, or I probably want to listen to Chief Keef instead of Taylor Swift, or maybe it's because my vocabulary broke. That's a joke. But you wonder why we kill our own folk. Cause we at the bottom of the totem pole. It's every man for themselves, so when you talk about surviving, let that 9 go is all they know. And it ain't even about black and white. It's about the system, B. And the fact that a death is the only way we can get black unity. Look what the media did to us, man. They make it seem like the only thing my race has a master's in is murder to the 2nd degree, and people think they know me. But they only know what I tell them. Cause I ain't tell you about them nights when my parents were so stressed out, I just cried and prayed to God that they ain't die in their sleep. Or when I was 8 and the police ran in my house and took my mama from me. And they say money can't make you happy, man. They say money can't make you happy. Well, can I be the first to say it wasn't nothing to smile about when the food stamps ran out and I went to school just to get something to eat, or my parents on the phone trying to borrow money just so me and my sisters can get through the week. Long story short, when they got rough, I was thinking about stealing from corner stores too. So tell me, do I deserve to get shot 11 times with a bullet going through my jawline? I know in some minds you might think it's fine. But can I do something that might sound like a rewind in some minds? I had a dream that one day nobody's voice is gonna get put on mute, and that one day we all gonna start aiming for high goals and stop aiming to shoot. I had a dream, man. That one day we'll all wake up and won't be living in deja vu. Deja vu easy.
So are you. I remember watching him approach. I did not know what made me sense him, but as I did, he was already very near. I started to run as quickly as I started to feel terror. I might have been distracted. This is irrelevant. That is some of what I was thinking about as he scoped me out, having the freedom to do whatever he wanted with me. I thought about my morning walk while he hunted me. He cut me off, intercepting me. I ran, I tried to escape, I could not get away. I was hunted, he was a predator, I was alone. I screamed more and more, and then more loudly. He tore at my clothes, I punched his face, his mouth, he smiled. I begged him not to do this. I remember being stripped of my clothes in the beginning of the raid. Then everything went dark. I ran, I tried to escape, I could not get away. My assailant succeeded in killing me. Survivor? Survived what? I'm not the person I used to be and was killed on that ordinary morning walk I took daily. My body still hurts. I continue to have medical illnesses. I cannot sleep. I feel ugly and ashamed. It takes an exhausting amount of work to be in a public space, and still I break down. People wonder and they whisper, what is wrong with her? I've stopped wondering what is wrong with them. For those of us who are destroyed in the ruins and aftermath, we stop caring about what others think of us in conventional ways. Why? Are you wondering? Because in the impossibility of my recovery, I have come to practice forgiving myself for something that was not my fault. I am brave and brilliant and beautiful. I remind myself of what I am, and I am so much better than what happened to me, and so are you.
Knockers, breasts, udders,
honkers,
boobs, twins, melons,
boobies,
tatas,
titties,
Breasticles.
Oh, did we make this uncomfortable?
All my life, I've been told to love my body and embrace it, but I came to question it this past Shake Day. For those of you who haven't gotten the picture on your email thread, my friends and I decided to flash the camera, a bundle of melons, if you will. A few drinks may have sparked the idea, but it didn't take more than a minute for us to decide to post it on my private Instagram. It's not the fact that it was distributed so nicely, although it is always a little weird when your friend's 29-year-old brother gets it on his Sewanee alumni thread. The strangest part of it all is I got 42 new follower requests on Instagram. What do these people think? That my account is filled with tit pics? TBT? Oh, I thought it was TPT. Tit Pic Tuesday.
To be honest, I feel comfortable having this picture on social media. It's not provocative, it's not funny, it's free, and it's fun. It's not something that we're at all embarrassed to come out about. I'm embarrassed that you expect me to be embarrassed. It's nothing more than a large group of friends expressing their confidence, and instead it is shut down by unexpected shaming.
And the worst part is, it's not just about this one picture. It's about the way that our society views women's sexuality. I mean, think about it. What if this was a photo of a guy's lacrosse team without their shirts on? You would have kept scrolling, and JJ would have 42 less followers.
We aren't telling every girl that you have to show your boobs to be confident. We're just saying it's a choice we made, and one we shouldn't have to fear the repercussions of.
There's a feeling that most women and some men know being constricted all day long, rearranging the bra, finding a bra to work with each different shirt, being afraid of nipping, and finally taking your bra off and swinging it around your head, and it feels like liberation. Boobs are not scandalous. People's ideas of boobs are scandalous. It is just a chest with magical powers to make boys drool and to make babies nourished.
The media and society sexualize women's bodies, but once your peer decides to do it, it's deemed embarrassing and unacceptable. The Sewanee that we know is about freeing the nipple, not shaming it.
I mean, think about it, guys. Hakuna Matata. It means no worries.
According to the National Registry of EMTs, my license expires on the 31st of March. A little less than 3 years is what the National Registry provided for me. Do the classes, complete the rotations, take the test, and for a little under 3 years, you can be an EMT. You can save lives. 3 years is what the National Registry promised me after I passed their tests. And 3 years is what Sewanee promised me too.
But Sewanee also promised me a legacy, a community, a family that expanded far beyond those 3 modest years. Alongside my classmates, we were to be part of a tradition that served the domain. Once you passed through the Sewanee gates, you were under the angel's protection, and ours too.
3 years is how long we served under Sewanee EMS. And in 3 months, in 3 months is all it took to dismantle us completely. A tradition of 44 years, fizzled out to extinction in the first semester.
And we can't tell you how or why exactly, because we weren't involved. What legitimate motives that existed were irreparably sullied by an utter lack of respect and transparency. A hidden committee behind closed doors, and months later we're informed that we're going to be merged, absorbed, consumed.
They presented us with mud and told us it was water. And in turn, they turned us into liars. Liars who promised students 3 years. Now they get 2, or 1, or hell, maybe none.
But hey now, kid, it's really your fault if you can't make this work. We're accommodating you as much as we can, and many other students elsewhere have to travel much further to get this type of A-grade resume boosting shit. I mean, that's all you're here for, right? You're not a lifer, you're just passing through. This is just a game for you. This is make-believe. It's not like you haven't saved lives, or it's not like you haven't watched people die. You were just a child.
So let me tell you what we're going to do. In the span of a semester, I will make everything you promised them a lie. Don't fight it. Don't even try. It'll just make you look more like the bad guy.
One shall not lie, cheat, or steal. I'm just going to strip you of all your effort, all your time. I will erase your name and the 1,038 who voiced out against it.
Find your place, but I'll snatch your home from you. Like a thief takes an unwatched vehicle in the night.
We have warned them time and time again that this is the end of Sewanee EMS. You haven't even tried, they say now. Where's your commitment?
And this wasn't for the resume, and this wasn't for the ego. This was our way to say thank you. But they left us with nothing. Nothing but wax wings and a command to fly towards the sun.
So, welcome to our funeral. Welcome to our eulogy. This is what's best for the community, they told us. What about me? What about us? Our community. When did we stop being part of the very community we're supposed to serve? And what about you?
A tradition, a family, a whole institution, brought to execution under a rather poor disguise of compromise.
And where does this leave you? In a Sewanee where the classes are too big and the dining hall too crowded? Where does this leave you? In a larger, more anonymous Sewanee, where the angels are being stripped of their wings?
Eke Kwambone and YSR.
I am so disappointed in so many of the changes that have taken place since I chose Sewanee as my home 3 years ago. I hate how institutionalized our city on a hill has become. I hate that students are being subjected to growing pains, pains that are taking place because the administration wants to hit that numerical sweet spot of enrolled students. I'm not sure if they even asked how students felt about that. Perhaps it's not so sweet. And I hate how speaking to the administration is like speaking to the Wizard of Oz. Some flames are ignited and a big voice booms out, and then you're left feeling appeased when really you've only been hushed and sent on another quest that is distracting you from the one you intended. But some things are still the same. Some traditions still remain. After all, what would Sewanee be without tradition? We still cannot manage to hold rapists accountable. Personally, I think that is one great Sewanee tradition, right up there with tapping the roof. Sewanee has never expelled anyone for sexual assault, not one single person. Yet we're getting emails and statistics indicating that rapes are occurring, and the statistics that we do have are only the reported ones, so it's safe to assume that more are occurring. But no one is being expelled for this. If you want to stay at this school, you have better luck copying and pasting from Wikipedia. If you want to stay at this school, you have better luck raping somebody than you do copying and pasting from Wikipedia for a paper. If the honor code means no lying, cheating, or stealing, will someone please explain to me how the act of stealing someone else's agency over their body is not included? There's a man I see every day. You rape someone not once, but twice. I hear his victim transferred, unable to share the sacred Sewanee bubble with the man who violated her bodily integrity. Since he was never officially expelled, he applied for readmission and was accepted back with open arms. He now roams the domain with the rest of us, standing apart from no one, given the privilege to dwell with the Sewanee angels with the rest of us. He's not the only one. There are plenty of other women and men that I know, that you know, that we all know who have committed rape or sexual misconduct. There are the small and hidden whispers of who these identities are on campus, the whispers of who these women and men are. Brief comments amongst Sewanee veterans of who and where and what happened, as well as the long, shaking sobs from friends who have been affected by these choices. We know who these people are, and incoming students are learning who they are, yet despite this very public secret, there is no accountability. It is clearly not happening in the administration because they are the ones upholding the Sewanee tradition of rapists walking across this campus daily and then across the graduation stage, and this tradition has persisted for far too long. So I implore you, turn these quiet whispers into loud screams. There may be no institutional accountability, but there is possibility for accountability amongst students. It is time for us to call a rapist out. It is time for us to let their identities be known to those around us, to those who we love and care for, since we know who the ones are responsible for ruined lives. They are continued to dwell among us. But how? Pick up your Sharpies. Make a blacklist. Whether it's on a Post-it note for your roommate, or on a piece of paper for your sorority, or if it's a goddamn manifesto, on every bathroom stall door, we must protect ourselves. Since it seems like no one else will. We've got to start holding rapists accountable. Pick up your Sharpies and put that graffiti to good use.
5-day forecast bring black tall rains and hellfire, while hand-picked handlers kid gloves tell the DNC the Halliburton attaché cases are useless, while Scotch Guard Macintoshes shall be carbonized. Now they're offering views of exiting empires, such breathtaking views of Scythian empires, Scythian empires, horsemen of the Russian steppes, Scythian empires.